everybody to episode 4 of the RGW podcast, the Regular Guys Wrestling podcast. Again, my name's James. I'm one of the hosts here, and sitting next to me is my good buddy Eric. How you doing, Eric?
Doing great, James. Looking forward to episode number 4 today.
That's right. We're unfortunately a little bit later in the week than we normally would like to be. Unfortunately, in our area, there was a bit of a epidemic, as it were, of the flu.
The nasty virus.
And it's been dubbed the Randy Orton flu.
Why?
Because it comes out of nowhere.
You got that right. Don Callis assisted in the virus.
Oh, Cyrus the virus.
We're just trying to plug wrestlers and, But yeah, no, we're all doing well, guys. And again, looking forward to episode number 4 today. Mm-hmm. It is, where are we today? February 24th, 2017. It is a Friday today, but we will be back this coming up Wednesday for episode number 5. Mm-hmm. But why talk about episode number 5, James? This is episode number 4.
Episode number 4. We might as well get moving on episode number 4 because we've got a lot to cover today.
We got a lot to cover today, guys. Probably a little bit more than we normally do because for some odd reason, there is a lot of rumors in the wrestling world. And as usual, after the rumors today, we've got some topics of discussion we're going to discuss. And then afterwards, we are going to do the Monday Night Raw recap / review. And then James is going to run through his...
The SmackDown Rush.
You got it. We called it the SmackDown Rush.
That's right.
So... yeah, it should be good, guys, and let's get things started.
Right on. So we want to thank CagesideSeats.com, CagesideSeats.com, not Cage-Shide. Sound like Sean Connery there for a second. Sportskeeda, and the Wrestling Observer for the rumors that we're going to be talking about here. So number 1, first rumor we want to talk about, it's been talked about, I guess, pretty much since the Royal Rumble last year, even. The big rumor here is WrestleMania 33 match was potentially going to be The Big Show versus Shaquille O'Neal. So The Big Show versus Shaq at WrestleMania 33. The rumor here is that it might not be occurring after all.
Yeah, no. Apparently Shaq is all of a sudden not showing any interest in fighting Big Show. I don't know if Big Show is kind of making a work out of it, but basically he's saying that, Shaq is kind of pulling up shy to this one,
which is unfortunate. I can understand it. Shaq, I'm going to tell you, by seeing him on the NBA All-Star game, he does not look like he is in the greatest shape.
Well, no, he's on all of these injury commercials.
Yeah,
he's never been a wrestler, and I've never been interested in this because the only reason why these two are being faced against each other is because of their size. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to be discussing this, but Big Show just fought Braun Strowman. If Shaq does a better job than Braun Strowman, we've got a problem. And that was a Raw match, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty much all I have to say about this one.
I mean, there's a very good chance that Shaq is not going to put on a 5-star match against the Big Show. So, and I agree with you. I am not extremely interested in seeing Shaq versus the Big Show either. It would bring a lot of mainstream attention to WrestleMania, but...
I'll be honest with you. I'd be more interested in more of a Triple H versus Scott Steiner-esque... when they did their push-up challenge and whatnot,
oh, yeah.
I'd actually be more interested in just Big Show and Shaq sitting in the middle of the ring comparing their shoe size, their hand size, who can reach higher. I'd be more interested in that than a wrestling match between Shaq and Big Show.
Do you remember in the 90s, KFC used to be able to get a basketball that had Shaq's handprint on there?
Yeah, my friends had some of those.
Yeah, I don't remember if we had one or not.
I wanted one.
Yeah, I definitely wanted one too. I don't think we did ever get one. I don't think my parents ever splurged and bought us the Shaq basketball. But what you're saying is you may be more interested in seeing who has the bigger handprint on the basketball.
That would be better
than the match itself.
That really would be better.
Gotcha. So what do you think would be more interesting? A Shaq versus Big Show match at WrestleMania, or perhaps a Big Show Akebono rematch.
Oh God, Big Show has faced nothing but terrible individuals throughout his WrestleMania career. I can't even think of, and I don't want to veer off on this, but I can't even think of who was his best match in WrestleMania.
At WrestleMania, I honestly can't even remember either.
Probably Taker, maybe him.
And
he was a. Did he? Yeah, I don't know. I think he faced Taker at Mania.
Could have been.
Yeah.
But
no,
that says a lot. Actually,
it just says it a lot. But but he's getting a lot better. We'll discuss that later.
Yeah.
But as for Shaq, I prefer not seeing a non-wrestler, a basketball player, in a wrestling role.
The only thing, I'm sorry to interrupt. The only thing I will say is I do feel bad for the Big Show because he's been posting all of his workouts. He's been posting in such good shape that he's getting into. And I wonder if a big part of that was to put on a good showing against Shaq.
Well, it's almost bit him in the ass because he's gotten so much in shape that wrestling Shaq is a step down now for Big Show because he's actually got a bit of a following again.
He does.
The crowd isn't booing Big Show anymore.
No.
But again, we'll discuss that in a little bit. So, yeah, that's the first rumor for you guys.
Good on you for
anything you want to discuss further regarding Shaq?
No, not at all. We will discuss the Big Show later on.
We'll press the next button on that one. As for the next rumor, Kurt Angle. So as everyone knows, he's coming back to WWE. He's being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and apparently there's interest to have him wrestle after WrestleMania. So to keep things kind of interesting, they're possibly going to have Kurt Angle wrestle afterwards because, as we all know, there's a bit of a slump after WrestleMania. I know it for a fact. I often have trouble watching. The Raw after WrestleMania is great, but everything after that is very difficult to watch because you're basically starting over. And if they use Kurt Angle the night after or the week after, that's an excellent idea to keep viewers' interest.
Mm-hmm.
So if that rumor's true, I'm very happy about that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm great with that. I mean, to see Kurt Angle back in a WWE ring as an active performer, even if it's only for a match or two, I think would be really, really special. Him coming back at the end, like the Raw after WrestleMania or the SmackDown after WrestleMania, depending on, because this will be the first live SmackDown after WrestleMania in years.
Yeah.
Because the draft extension there, or the brand extension rather, it only started in July. So there hasn't been a WrestleMania yet. So obviously the Raw after WrestleMania is going to be special, but I'm almost thinking the SmackDown after WrestleMania will be huge as well.
That could be. Yeah, SmackDown's doing fairly well as of late. So.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, SmackDown's been very entertaining. All right, so next on the ticket here is WWE apparently is still interested in signing the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, and and one other thing is that they've yet to sign new deals with TNA or Impact Wrestling. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, Matt and Jeff have a huge history with WWE.
Yep.
TNA is kind of down the toilet, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of other viewers' opinions. I know there's some fans out there, but I could certainly see why a lot of individuals have jumped ship, like Samoa Joe and so forth, to the WWE, So I think that Matt and Jeff coming over to the WWE would do well. There's a lot of fans that used to cheer for them that have likely either moved on or the younger audience won't really relate with them depending on whether or not they watch TNA. It's hard to say, but for the most part, I think they'll do well. I think they'll come back as fan favorites, as faces, and I'd like to see them back.
I would presume at this point, if they were to come back, especially as a tag team, they would probably be like the Dudley Boys.
Yes,
come back to potentially put over other teams.
I think they would have a longer lasting effect than the Dudley Boys did. The Hardys just have a little bit more in their arsenal than that of the Dudleys, in my opinion. The Dudleys had a huge pop when they came out and I was excited as well. But I found that it died very quickly, and I could see if Matt and Jeff came back. They've got their aerial tactics and whatnot. They're better on the microphones than the Dudleys, and they're smaller, so they could wrestle with the more agile guys. But Matt and Jeff also wrestled people like Undertaker, Austin, and Triple H. You don't see the Dudley boys wrestling with guys like Neville and whatnot. You know what I mean? Whereas you could easily see Jeff Hardy wrestle someone like Neville. I just find that they're a little bit more usable than that of the Dudley boys.
They're probably more versatile for sure. I mean, they're both very accomplished wrestlers. They've both got the high flying. Their personalities, I mean, are off the chart. Matt Hardy, especially for the last year or so, has been doing this broken Matt Hardy deal.
True.
So if he was to bring that back to WWE, or rather over to WWE, that might be pretty interesting.
Do you think he would?
It really depends on creative, I guess, if they want him to come back as, the Hardy Boys, or if they want him to kind of come back as themselves, let's say, then, broken Matt Hardy and, Brother Nero. Unfortunately, WWE has a bit of a history of not really wanting things that have gotten over outside of the company.
There's no way they're going to use it
in the company.
They're too proud. They want to use their stuff.
I agree. The pride is definitely there. I think it's to quote the Authority, it would be best for business.
It would be. Yeah, no, I could see if Matt Hardy especially used his gimmick. That he's kind of at his height with this gimmick, and he's in a much smaller company, ironically. So
yeah, I tried watching. I think what they would need to do, though, they would need to rein him in a little bit, because I did watch that one episode there of I can't even remember what they called it, but it was all about, I guess it was not the final deletion, but it was another one of those type of shows, and they had it at the Hardy compound in their garage, and they had like 50 of their biggest fans there, and it almost seemed, it was a little much, to be honest. It was a little much, but I think that was them TNA just basically shoving them and saying, hey, you do what you want to do, and we'll see where this goes. Whereas I think there needs to be a little bit of the reining in, but they still have to let them basically have a certain amount of creative control over their characters, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
No, agreed.
But I would love to see them back in WWE. I think they'd fit great on SmackDown. And
yeah.
SmackDown needs a couple extra stars.
You're right.
Which we can talk about a little bit more during the SmackDown rush. I have a bit to say about that, but we'll talk about that later.
Sure. No, absolutely. One more return rumor. Kelly and Victoria, couple of divas, could be returning soon to the WWE. As for Kelly, I'll say this. Both myself and James have very little knowledge on her. I don't, to be honest with you, know how much I was watching wrestling when Kelly was at her peak. There was this little spurt there where I'd halted for a little bit. As for Victoria, myself, that's one of my favorite divas of all time. Yeah, I loved her finisher, man.
Oh, that was it, the
Widow's Peak.
Yeah,
probably one of the best finishers, period, in pro wrestling.
It was great. I think Victoria would be a huge asset to either the Raw or SmackDown roster.
She's a Raw girl, I think.
She's a Raw girl, and I think it would be a great fit because Mickie James is doing great on SmackDown as the veteran.
Same era, roughly.
Yeah, pretty much.
James is a little newer era than Victoria.
She's a little younger, I think. Like, I think Mickie James is probably like late 30s, maybe.
Mickie James, you could look at her as being the ending of the Trish Stratus era.
Probably, I would agree. Yeah, she was like the crazed fan of Trish Stratus.
She was the Paige of AJ's career.
Maybe, yeah.
She was the crazed fan.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. They redid it. When they did the Paige obsession with AJ, I immediately thought of Mickie James and Trish.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Except
I never did.
Mickie James did a way better job. She did an excellent job.
Well, Mickey James has always been great.
Well, especially as kind of the psycho, like it was good.
She played the part so well, so well. I don't unfortunately know a whole lot about her career in TNA.
Okay.
Again, we didn't really watch much TNA.
No.
But great in WWE, and I think she's a great side, kind of like a sidekick to Alexa Bliss right now.
Okay.
And almost a little bit of a mentor,
Yeah.
in a sense. So I think Victoria could play that role really, really well. And unfortunately, Raw does need another strong female character.
Well, imagine. Oh, that's a good one, James. Charlotte versus
Victoria.
Oh, there's some power in those girls.
There's some power.
Wow.
They're both of a similar size.
You're right.
I think Victoria plays a great face and a great heel.
Yes.
And she's a good wrestler.
She's probably a little bit better at the heel.
Probably.
She's got that pull the hair out kind of grimacy smile look.
Yeah.
But tough as nails. Kind of had the. I remember she had the leg braces.
Yeah.
I used to kind of see her as a female Stone Cold to a degree.
Yeah.
Because she had the brawling style to a degree, but her finisher kind of showed what kind of a wrestler she was. She was I don't even know if she'd be allowed to use that. If you don't release it properly, that person's dead. So I don't know. I really like. It's funny. I really liked Victoria, and in the same rumor, Kelly, I know nothing about.
Yeah, I mean Kelly, I don't think would add anything. She's been a wrestler, I think, for quite some time.
She's won one
wrestled.
belt.
She may have. I don't really remember.
Yeah, 6. I read she held the belt for, I think it was 6 months.
Could be.
Yeah.
I don't really remember.
I do believe. But regardless, she was kind of in that era that's frowned upon by wrestlers. I don't know what you'd call it. Would you call it the teeny bopper era of the divas? The pillow fight, the pillow fights and whatnot.
She's after that.
Sure. I don't know. It was the divas revolution, to my knowledge, doesn't like looking back at divas like that. But
well, she came up at the same time as like the Bellas, and she was in one of those. Was in one of those diva searches, I believe.
Yeah.
So maybe not as far back as, say, Maria.
I think she had a character though. She was an exotic dancer.
She was. I think it was called like the Extreme Expose or something. She was on ECW for a little while,
I don't know.
I
wouldn't say that's.
at all.
Let's compare that to someone like Charlotte though.
Yeah.
See, I disagree. I think it's a disrespectful character, whereas most of the female wrestlers today are just straight up wrestlers.
Yeah,
I respect that.
Yeah, and I don't think they would bring, if she did come back, I don't think she would be in that same vein as she was 5-6 years ago.
That gimmick that Emma was going to do that failed, I don't think it would have succeeded because of this. You know,
it's a different time.
Yeah,
it's just a completely different time. I agree. Like I don't think a Sable, because that's kind of was the rumor, right? I think they were trying to kind of almost make her a little bit more of a Sable type character.
Yeah.
But it's a different time. It's a different era. Things like Sable.
A Sable today, like say Sable came today and she had no past history, she could be booed out of the building.
Yeah.
It's a different time.
Yeah. Well, what did she say? Sable. She was like, "This is for the girls who want to be me, and this is for the guys who came to see me," and she'd do like the little dance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think that would fly in this day and age.
I could hear booing from that, and I was being cheered back then.
When you've got like Charlotte, and you've got Sasha, and you've got if Bailey. I mean, none of those are all completely different characters. SmackDown, you've got Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Natalia. Like it's a different era. It just wouldn't work.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But to each their own.
But Victoria, all over that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like another rumor here. We won't be seeing Cody Rhodes back in the WWE anytime soon because he and Zack Sabre Jr. are going to be working in New Japan as their main base of operations now, according to the Wrestling Observer. And that makes sense because Cody Rhodes just kind of made a big splash in New Japan as part of Bullet Club, right?
Sure. As much as I'd like to see Cody back, he's continuing to make a name for himself, and I think he's going to be a hot commodity, and WWE is going to want him back probably sooner than most people realize.
Could be. I think he'll probably, I would presume he'll stay in New Japan for at least the rest of this year.
Sure.
And I'm sure he's making good coin in New Japan as well. So good for him. But yeah, as he continues to develop this American Nightmare character, which is funny, I only realized very recently that it's a play on the American Dream name.
Oh, you just realized that now, eh?
Yeah. I never realized that at first. But I think my brother laughed at me because he's like, seriously? You didn't know that?
Yeah, that's your brother.
That's him, all right. We have to invite him on the show one day.
He will be a guest soon.
Yes, he's my brother. His name's Tyler. He's got.
You guys will be in awe with this man's knowledge.
he's got a lot of knowledge and a very interesting take on things. So stay tuned for that in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. Going to do a quick TNA rumor here. So apparently, and I don't believe this, but Jeff Jarrett will apparently be moving away from the wrestling role in TNA and will no longer be essentially an on-screen performer, and he's just going to be a background guy. I don't believe that. He's kind of a Triple H. He seems to never let wrestling die out of his blood. And what's your thoughts, James? I just can't see Jeff Jarrett wanting to lay down low, not be in the spotlight, and just do the corporate office stuff in the background.
Yeah, I don't think so either. He has nothing left to offer that I can see, like as an on-screen character. He's basically done it all.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's really anything left for him to do. The only other thing he could potentially do is if he decided to come back, which he probably will, is if they did another, like an authority type angle, which has been so played out.
He's like the last human being in the world that would ever come back to the WWE. Do you realize that?
Honestly, like everyone says never say never in wrestling.
But he's a never.
I think he is one of the only nevers.
He's got TNA blood, and even we don't like Global Force Wrestling. He even tried to start another organization, and he still has it technically. So he's got two competitors, or if you want to call them competitors, and he hasn't been in the WWE for how long? He's like the last guy I could see the WWE ever wanting to even touch or mention.
Yeah, well, he's not a former world champion of any kind in WWE. He won the Intercontinental title, and actually, the rumor there was years ago. It was basically he kind of held. It was one of those things where I think his contract ran out, and he was still the IC title champion, and I think he kind of held out for a big payday from Vince in order to wrestle one last match.
China beat him, didn't he?
And China beat him.
That was his last match.
That was his last match in WWE. Yep. His last match ever in WWE. So I think there's some bad blood there as well. So yeah, I see CM Punk coming back to WWE before Jeff Jarrett.
Oh God, yeah. In fact, at this stage, I think CM Punk will come back, but that's to be seen.
Yeah.
To be seen, everyone.
Yep. All right. One other rumor here, getting away from TNA. I don't think we're going to be chatting with TNA again this episode, but Raw and SmackDown may actually be having another draft come June. Now, I like that idea. I like the idea of a yearly draft.
I'm not as excited as others for the draft. When the draft was first introduced many, many years ago, it was so exciting to me. I actually remember when Kane came to SmackDown, I do believe. Was it for a fake funeral for The Undertaker? They were having their feud at the time. And Kane came over to the SmackDown brand. This was unheard of. And I was so interested in it. That's how much they kept the SmackDown brand and the Raw brand separate. Mm-hmm. And then when they finally had their first draft, it was the most exciting thing to me. Fast forward to today, it doesn't interest me whatsoever. These guys just had a Royal Rumble, and it didn't even I didn't even flinch when I'd see a SmackDown and Raw guy go after each other. I guess it's still too fresh to me. Like, how long has it been that SmackDown and Raw have been separate? A year?
No, not even. It's only been
No.
July.
That's just it. It's so fresh. These guys all used to be on the same show together. You know, I could see them maybe. I don't know. I really don't know who's going to go on what show, but I don't know. It just kind of lost its pizzazz for me.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. I like the shaking up of things a little bit. You get to see different matches because if you do keep Raw and SmackDown completely separate, which I agree with. Like, I don't think Raw guys should be interfering at all with SmackDown guys. And girls too. I don't think any of the women should be on either person's show. However, there are times where there would be some really interesting matchups, like maybe an Alexa Bliss versus a Sasha Banks might be a pretty good match. Mm-hmm. Maybe a Mickie James versus Charlotte might be kind of a cool match. We've seen Becky Lynch and Charlotte, of course. We've seen a lot of that. Natalia, and we've seen that interaction. But there's some unique matches that we haven't seen before, and of course with the men too. So I think there's definitely a place for a draft to shake things up. June might be a little early, though. You're right, because it wouldn't have even been a whole year yet before they're already doing a draft and shaking up the rosters. So there's that to say. Plus, you've got some cool feuds that can really take off and be like long-lasting feuds that, I mean, if all of a sudden you break up the rosters again, may, I don't know, mess up some feuds, some interesting storylines that are going on.
Yeah,
so,
it could add some complexity.
It could, yeah. So while I think a draft would be cool, perhaps it might be a little too early now that I think about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that basically sums up the rumors of the week. Mm-hmm. So we are going to proceed with our topics of discussion. We have a fun one for you guys this week. I thought of this one, and I'm big on this. To be honest with you, my first CD I ever owned was WWF The Music Volume 3. I like wrestling music. And I hate wrestling music. The music I like, the themes that I like a lot. And there's some that just drive me up the wall.
So is Volume 3, is that the one that has the black and green cover?
No, that is Volume 4.
Okay.
Volume 3, obviously, is the one before that. But Volume
Thank you for telling us how numbers work.
Volume 3 basically ends with Stone Cold's theme.
Okay.
That basically sums it up because Austin's song is at the end, and Austin never had his song on any other album, his actual theme.
Oh, really? Like the glass breaking?
Just the glass breaking theme.
Oh, okay.
There was other themes on that one as well. There was Edge's, I believe it was his You Think You Know Me, Undertaker's, more of the Ministry, I do believe. There was X-Pac's theme, I do believe, on there. From the DX side of things. There was the classic D-Generation X song on there. That's huge. Yeah. So I think Kane's classic song was on there. So that was actually that was a really good album. The Rock's like first. It was actually instead of If You Smell What the Rock Is Cooking, it was Do You Smell What the Rock Is Cooking?
Right, yeah.
So to give you an idea. Yeah. Anywho, ever since I had gotten that album, my interest in wrestling themes has probably grown. So our topic one of the topics for the week is, what is your favorite set of wrestling tunes? So I have a list that I've come up with, and James, I believe, has some as well. And I just wanted to list mine off and maybe kind of give a little bit of a rundown in regards to why these are my favorites. So one in particular that I like, of course, is our boy Chris Jericho. From day one, he's had the Break the Walls Down, and he probably has one of the biggest appearances in WWE history when he jumped ship from WCW to WWE. And when his music hit, no one knew that was his song. He never had that in WCW. Well, to this day, I could probably just listen to that song even in my car, and I think it's an awesome song. Like, do you like that tune?
It's a great tune. When he debuted in WWE, the video package that went with it was awesome too. Like, of course, there was the countdown and there was the explosions, and then it started off just kind of like with that beginning drum part, and I gotcha.
Right.
And then there was like the girl jumping or dancing or something, and then as soon as that "Break the Walls Down" came up, the word Jericho popped up,
Sure.
and that was just like everyone just lost their minds. I lost my mind. I remember watching it live on Raw, and it was amazing.
Yeah, so that song was on WWF The Music Volume 4.
Okay.
It's the first song to open up the album, and it's great.
I actually never owned any of those albums.
Yeah, I've got
not even one.
I've got 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
5 is the worst of the 3, but 3 and 4 are solid.
Yeah.
I enjoy them very
Cool.
much. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some on 4, I do believe, that aren't very great, but there's some other tunes, that are pretty solid. We just mentioned Stone Cold. Well, that also is probably one of my favorite themes. You and I discussed this recently, actually, with our friends. What is the biggest wrestling theme of all time, or best? And I'd have to say Stone Cold Steve Austin's, that glass shatters. Thinking back at the Attitude Era, huge.
Yeah.
And probably Hulk Hogan, but I still say I side on Stone Cold on this one. It is a powerful tune written by Jim Johnson. He should probably be inducted into the Hall of Fame if he hasn't already been, because he has written an enormous amount of good stuff throughout the years. He's not writing for the WWE anymore. It's a band. It's a group of 2 individuals called the CFOs, CFO $, of course, and they do a lot of stuff. They started off with like Seth Rollins and their themes and so forth. So I like Stone Cold, Chris Jericho's. I like Triple H, My Time.
That was a good one.
My Time, I like even more than Triple H The Game, which I love as well.
Yeah.
But My Time is darker, and it suited the time very well.
That was the time. Obviously, he was coming into his own, becoming the single star that he became.
Yeah.
And it was about that time as well that JR coined the phrase "the cerebral assassin."
Yep.
And that song was very cerebral. Like, it just got into your head, and it just laid the groundwork of what was about to happen when he would come down to the ring to wrestle or cut a promo or what have you. Great tune, I agree.
Yeah, when you hear it, you could just see Triple H standing on the top of the ramp with his head down and his eyes looking up. He had that cerebral assassin look to him. Great tune. It's kind of funny. I think if you listen to the lyrics, they're like kind of dissing Vince in the song. It's like, meanwhile, he's his father-in-law. But I liked it. What else do I like? Oh yes, classic APA. Another very powerful tune, similar to that of Austin's in a way. It was just powerful. It represented teach their own, but it represented Farouk and JBL pretty well. Although he wasn't JBL when he was part of the APA.
No,
he was Bradshaw.
Yeah.
I that's probably my favorite tag team of all time, which maybe I'm a little biased in the song, but I like it.
I think the APA's music, it reminds me a lot, actually, of Roman Reigns or the Shield's music, actually.
Well, this is way before them, so.
It is true. I'm not going to deny that, obviously, but
I can see the comparison.
I just found it very basic.
It is basic. But you know what? Even when the Shield debuted, though, I probably did like their theme a little bit.
It's probably why. It was a throwback to the APA. You're like, I wonder...
I like the phonetic.
I like this.
I like the phonetics at the start with
Yeah.
the Sierra Hotel India Echo Lima Delta Shield. I like that.
All right.
Because I know my phonetic alphabet.
I like the phonetic. That's good.
For some reason, Taz, his tune Always a big fan of Taz. Now that's on the 5th WWF Volume 5. So I've heard it many times.
I'll have to listen to it again. I
So-
honestly don't even remember what it sounds like.
It starts with the heartbeat,
Okay, yeah.
and then it go. Well, I'm not going to sing for
No,
everyone, but you could YouTube it. And,
Serenade us.
Yeah, no, I'm good. And Psycho Sid. If you listen to the first WWF Music Volume 1, there's some good stuff on there. It's got the first Raw is War themes, which I love. Those are killer tunes. And then it jumps to Diesel's song. Kind of childish, it's got it's got the air horn on the semi, and I don't know. It's just kind of a country, kind of a groovy song.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a Metallica 2x4, if you will.
Love me some 2x4, I'll tell you what.
That's a good tune. But I found on that album, Sid's. I don't know what it is, but the production quality of Sid's song sounds so much clearer and more advanced than that of some of the other songs on that album. That's actually a Goldust song is on there to kind of give you an idea of how long Goldust has been around.
Yeah, Goldust's been around a long time.
He has, a lot of stuff with other wrestlers back in the day. But another guy I mentioned, Kurt Angle. For some reason, I'm just a sucker for that song. It just makes you feel good. I'm excited to see Angle back, and I listened to it just recently, and it's a powerful, patriotic song.
Interesting fact, that was actually reused.
Yeah.
It was originally the Patriots music
It
in
was.
1997.
And wasn't it a song before the Patriot?
I really don't remember.
I think it is. I think it's I'm not sure. But
it was the Patriots music for sure, and then, of course, he left. He was gone, and then... when Angle debuted in 2000, they brought it up again. Not a bad song. Not saying it's a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was not originally Kurt Angle's song.
Yeah, and as for myself, for today's wrestlers, and they're basic, don't get me wrong, I do like Seth Rollins' tune. It's just straight drums. Pretty cool sounding. Kevin Owens.
I really like Kevin Owens, yeah.
Kevin Owens. I did like Dean Ambrose's theme. I still like it a fair amount. I actually find Dean Ambrose, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins' tunes sound similar, all written by CFOs.
I guess that's the thing. I mean, it's all written really by the same people.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a specific style.
I thought that, but then I did a little bit of more research on the CFOs. They do a lot of other stuff too. They did Sheamus's. Sounds nothing like them. And I like Sheamus's tune.
Sheamus, who did I say recently that Sheamus's tune reminded me of? It reminded me a little bit of somebody.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Me neither.
But you did tell me this, and this was less than a week ago.
Yeah.
See, that's what happens when you're told something and you have a flu.
I suppose. When you've got the Randy Orton flu, you better not even...
comes out of nowhere.
Don't even tell him anything.
Speaking of Randy Orton, that's a pretty good theme too.
Do you remember Randy Orton's when he first became a singles wrestler? I guess he's always been a singles wrestler.
Oh, no.
But when he left Evolution...
Hey, nothing you can say. I did not like that theme.
No, that was awful.
That was terrible. It didn't even
Yeah.
have a nice groove to
No,
it.
it just
didn't
wasn't.
connect properly.
No, it was not good at all.
But Voices, that's a good tune.
that is a pretty good tune, yeah.
Yeah.
One day maybe Eric will serenade us in French.
Yeah. I recently translated the starting of that song on my own and may have sang it for our local friend James. He enjoyed it very much.
Yeah. So,
Left him without words, everyone. I think James is about to tell us what his favorite songs are.
well, a few of these are really awesome. Like, I mean, Stone Cold's obviously is like, I think it's probably, I agree, one of the, if not the best themes of all time. My Time, until I saw it on this list, I'd actually kind of forgotten about it, but I totally agree. That is a great, great theme. Jericho's Break Down the Walls, again, another perfect one.
This is rare that you're agreeing with me on all these things.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often.
I'm sure the Ultimate Warrior will be mentioned soon, everyone.
I do like the Ultimate Warriors for sure. I do. Actually, the Rockers actually sounded very similar to that, but a little more.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, sounded very similar. Again, though, they could have been written by Jim Johnson as well. I don't really know.
Or the CFOs.
The CFOs when they were babies with rattles in their hands.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure I don't even know how old they are, but I don't know, mid 80s. How old would they have been? Who knows?
They're probably in their early 30s.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, a couple that I really like. A couple of oldies but goodies. I really, really liked Mr. Perfect's
Okay.
theme song. It was kind of this symphony, just this banging, clanging drums, and very, very cool. Very cool. I liked it a lot. Actually, Curtis Axel, for a while, his theme song was, well, his dad was Mr. Perfect, of course, Kurt Hennig. But anyways, his song kind of incorporated a little bit of that. It was kind of a rock song, but incorporated a little bit of the Mr. Perfect tune, which I thought was kind of a cool touch. I really liked Harlem Heat.
Booker T's.
Booker T's as well, yeah.
You know what? I do like that song.
Yeah, that was a good one. It just, I don't know, man. That was a great song.
I think every wrestling fan, if they hear, they'll know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like that.
Back in the day, what they used to do is when it first started, when the music first started, it would go, yes, yes,
and then no.
that not the high. There was no high.
No, there was.
Was there?
Yes, there was.
Oh, I missed that part, obviously.
But no, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of too many more that I really, really enjoyed. I thought the Hardy Boys theme was pretty cool. Kind of had that cool driving drum beat to it as well. Kinda
Okay.
neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from that, I don't know. I think we've discussed a few here. I like today's, I like Kevin Owens, of course.
Who's got the worst?
The worst music.
I think I know.
Who's that? Who do you think?
Isaac Yankem DDS.
I don't even remember what it sounds like.
It was a dentist drill.
Was it?
There was no song.
Oh, that's pretty
It was
cool.
just. How do you not know this? I'm very disappointed in you, James. I can hear our audience tearing up. Kane's very disappointed.
Yes, I didn't remember the wrestling dentist's theme song.
Yeah, but it was just a
just a
looped dentist drill.
Oh, yeah.
There was no music to it whatsoever.
Oh.
So
I wonder what Duke the Drumster Drosie's theme song was. It was just like the backing up of a garbage
it
truck.
started with the beeps, but no,
Yeah.
he had a song.
Oh, that he song.
Just don't recall what the song
Oh.
sounded like.
TL Hopper, perhaps. It was just the plunger.
Oh my God.
He was a wrestling plumber. For those who aren't familiar with TL Hopper,
Cool.
early '90s.
Okay, well, we're gonna move on to our next topic. Just a little bit of an observation I made, and I kind of wanted to throw it in here. So I recently got, as part of my new set here, the true story of the Royal Rumble, and I was really excited for it. And you know, the documentary portion of it was extremely interesting. It was about only an hour and a half long. Actually, an hour and 10 minutes long, I do believe. And what I wanted to bring up was I've noticed more and more. So this Blu-ray that I got says it's over 8 hours long in content. But the documentary is only about 75 minutes long. I've noticed a lot of WWE documentaries over the year are basically just filled with matches, with only a small portion being a documentary and maybe having some extras. I have that Stone Cold documentary from a few years ago. Do you remember what it was called?
I don't actually. Stone Cold Truth? That was his book, I think, actually.
No, it was essentially about being the unquestionable greatest wrestler of all time.
Okay.
Anywho, it was a little longer than an hour and 15 minutes, but once again, it was packed with a whole bunch of matches. Maybe it's suiting for that, but as for the Royal Rumble, a lot of the matches in the Rumble weren't even the Rumble themselves. They were matches that occurred on the Royal Rumble, and I found it a little fillerish. For example, Sid versus Shawn Michaels. Like, I watched it, but it's just something you could watch online anyways. And I was a little confused in regards to why they chose that match, except for the fact that maybe it was because it was at the Alamo Dome, and that was the biggest Royal Rumble attendance until probably this Alamo Dome, because that was the Rumble as well, was it not?
I mean, I don't actually remember. It was in Texas, but I don't actually remember.
I thought it was, but I don't know. What you've seen a few documentaries over years. I'm not sure if you have any discs yourselves.
Yeah, I do have some. Like, I don't have any recent ones for sure. But I do have, like, I've got the Bret Hart DVD from probably, oh gosh, I don't know how long that would be 10 years ago?
You're talking about Wrestling with Demons?
No, that's Wrestling with Shadows.
Oh, right.
No, not that one. That was like straight up documentary. That one wasn't even.
Yeah, that's
there
what
were no
and
matches on that
that's
at
from
all.
the 90s.
That was from 1997.
I think.
Well, the Montreal Screwjob was in at the end of 97, right?
Yeah.
So Wrestling with Shadows probably came out in 98.
Right.
But in any case, yeah, no, it was a three DVD set.
Yeah.
And the first DVD was the documentary, and it might have had one or two matches on it. I don't actually remember. But it was a good 2 hours for sure, the documentary section. I also have the Ric Flair DVD, and that too, 3 discs. And again, I'm sure the documentary is, a good 2 hours for sure.
Yeah, not bad. I'd almost want more than that. Than 2 hours, especially if they're going to be including 3 discs, because that a majority of those discs are filled with matches.
Yeah, especially these days, like the Bret Hart and the Ric Flair DVDs, like those ones are from quite some time ago. They're DVDs, for crying out loud. I don't even think there was. I don't even know if there was Blu-ray at the time. Like we're talking 06, 07, maybe even before that. To be honest, I actually don't remember what year those ones came out.
Right.
But in any case, now you've got the Blu-rays, which hold like significantly more than a DVD. So you would almost think that they should be able to put in more documentary and still have tons of room for matches. Like you said, it's over 8 hours of content, right?
Sure.
So you could easily have at least the 2 hour documentary and still have 6 hours of matches.
And not only that, the documentary, they kind of jumped back and forth between a documentary of the Royal Rumble and they did this 2000 and what would it be? 2000 Triple H won the Royal Rumble. Was it 2016 or 15?
Oh, when he beat when he won the title?
No, when he won the Royal Rumble. Yeah.
Like he won the title at the Royal Rumble.
What year was that? Yeah.
2016.
2016?
Yeah.
So they basically jumped back and forth between showing Roman Reigns building up to that Royal Rumble, and then they would talk more about the Royal Rumble history, and then they would go back to what, they would increment the times of days, 3 p.m., 4:08 p.m., 6:32 p.m. And
leading up to the
Yes.
2016 Royal Rumble?
Yes.
So it sounds like it was a 75-minute infomercial to push Roman Reigns again.
Yeah, and that.
Anyways,
I agree with you. That's the thing. It was interesting, especially when they were doing the documentary portion. But in 15 years, will anyone really care about what happened that much at the 2016 Royal Rumble? No, doubtful, because it's just one year. Mm-hmm. So I really think they should have focused more on the history of the Royal Rumble in general, added more to it, and maybe added more extras and left out some of the filler and the matches. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I started discussing this is I'm very excited about a Blu-ray that's come out, and I've been bringing this up to you for a while now. I was hoping that it'd be coming out, but Scott Hall has a Blu-ray now. Nice. It's called on the Wrestling on the Razor's Edge, I believe, or Living on the Razor's Edge. Okay. And I'm super looking forward to it. In fact, I think I'm going to get it. But I have a feeling it's a 3-disc set that it's loaded with matches. Now, I like Scott Hall. He's my second favorite wrestler behind Stone Cold. So I'm going to really enjoy those matches. But I really want to see a lot of stuff about him growing up. I want to see that sweet mustache. I want to see, his rise, and not just NWO stuff and not just Razor stuff. I want to see it all. But I have a feeling that, it might not go beyond an hour and a half, and I have a feeling there's a lot of stuff that they could show besides just matches. Like Randy Orton just came out with a disc, and it's actually just a disc or two dedicated to his most recent best matches. But it sounds like it's a documentary, but it's not whatsoever. So things are getting really confusing because I find there's a lot of overlap with wrestlers and their discs. Like Brock Lesnar has a couple of discs, but you don't know which one's the documentaries and which one's just matches. It's become a bit of a money grab. These discs usually come out before Christmas time and whatnot. So you could tell they're just kind of being thrown together in the first place just to make a buck. So, I don't know. I just wanted to get your take on it because I'm a little bummed about these discs that are coming out that are basically just sections of a pay-per-view being thrown in on a disc that really should be dedicated more to a documentary feel as opposed to just, some guy backstage making his decision on what matches should be on the disc.
Yeah, if it is being marketed as, a wrestler's story,
right,
then I really think there needs to be a good chunk of that story being told, right? Or a good chunk of the disc being the story. And then obviously show some of their best matches. With the WWE Network, I think a lot of times you could probably find a lot of these matches.
That's the problem. That's what I mean. You can go on YouTube and watch them.
So, I totally hear what you're saying about it being a money grab. Yeah, why am I going to buy a DVD or a Blu-ray full of these matches when I could go on the WWE Network or I could go potentially on YouTube or what have you and watch these same matches? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I was just actually looking up the Scott Hall DVD just now, and I think you will actually be impressed by it. It does sound like it goes into a lot of different details about his career.
Yeah, I hope it even goes into the rough stuff.
I think it does. Yeah.
Good. You're not supposed... you shouldn't need to hide any of that stuff.
No, I agree.
His life is his life.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, I totally agree with you. I think there should be, if you're going to have a biography, essentially, of a wrestler, or, a history of, say, an event of some sort, like history of WrestleMania. Like, if you're going to have the history of WrestleMania and you didn't really go into much detail about, the working up to WrestleMania and all that, and it really being, the make or break of the WWF at the time, if you didn't really emphasize that and show all of the workings and just showed some random matches from WrestleMania over the past 30 years, cool, but I'm buying this DVD or this Blu-ray to see the history of the event itself, what's leading up to this game-changing event, right? Not necessarily just seeing some random matches. Yeah, I totally agree with you in that respect.
Cool. All right, and let's shift over to one more topic before doing the our review recap of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. I wanted to bring something up that was recently brought up on a certain show here. I find that wrestlers, and by the way, that was Lance Storm actually on Killing the Town, that was kind of discussing this. But I find that over the years, when a face is when a heel is turned face, at times they're being turned to being a face incorrectly. So what I mean by that is, if there's a wrestling faction of some sort, say two or three individuals are heels, and two of them turn on that individual, on the other one. If that other individual turns face because of that, that's not the right way to turn face, right? you see where I'm going with this?
Mhm.
The correct way to turn face is to win the crowd over by you becoming fed up with the way they're treating you and starting to acknowledge the fans more and turning on them in the end. The crowd will cheer. So the first example was Randy Orton and Evolution. They did not turn Orton face correctly at all. So that was awesome when he was on top of Triple H's shoulders and Batista gave the thumbs down and dropped him. Crowd went crazy. I remember, I think it was the next Raw. This is a long time ago. And he's standing on top of the stage and he had like images of Evolution and he was awkwardly discussing them. It was terrible. And he was trying to win over the fans immediately as a face. He was just a heel. And the crowd wasn't digging it. It was horrible. When he first turned face after Evolution, that was like one of his lowest points, I do believe. But that wasn't the only example. So Seth Rollins with the Authority, same exact thing. They basically turned their back on Seth. Everyone was so excited for Seth Rollins to, kind of turn. They did it the wrong way. They turned their back on him, and it seemed like he was in this awkward tweener position.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
When he came back after his injury?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be huge, and he was still a heel to add to it, and then he kind of became a face. It was horribly done. The crowd was so excited for the correct turn on him. Wasn't there even a rumor at one time there was going to be this double turn? Like, there were so many great rumors when Seth was a heel to turn him face, and they did not. They didn't pull out on that. Like it just did not work out correctly.
Yeah, and not only that, but like when he came, and I think there was definitely a time for him to come back as a face, because when he came back after being injured,
Yeah.
Because he had interfered in a match, right? And then the next night on Raw, he came down, and he started kind of talking like he was that like a face, and the fans were actually digging it, and then he went right back to heel. It didn't make any sense. So I think just the whole everything was just so awkward with that when he came back after his injury.
Yeah.
It was just so awkward. Like the timing has to be right, and it has to be. I hate to use the word organic.
It does. No, it does.
It does. No, but it has to be natural.
Right.
You can't force things. Like that's the whole thing about Roman Reigns the last 2 years. He's been forced upon.
Nothing has been organic about Roman Reigns.
It's been completely manufactured.
You could tell.
And that's why it didn't work. And unfortunately, it's past the point of no return, or it's past the point where you can salvage it. I honestly don't think it's not going to happen. No, there's an example right there.
There's problems with this organic thing you're talking about. Roman Reigns is super damaged. I think that Seth is somewhat damaged because of those examples you just gave.
Yeah.
When he came back and the crowd was going nuts for him, and he did that. He said he was doing it. He started with the face stuff and turned heel. I remember that, and that was completely bogus. It was playing with the fans, and then he got injured, and then he comes back, and then he expects them to be cheering him, and it wasn't what they should have been. There wasn't the reaction that we were hoping for. And now, so that was two examples. The same thing's about to happen with Chris Jericho. So Lance pointed out that Chris Jericho was full out heel. He was. He's full out heel. And now Kevin Owens turns on Jericho, and Jericho's going to come back. And it's pretty obvious when he's going to come back. I'm sure it'll be Fastlane, and I'm sure it'll result in Goldberg winning the belt. We'll talk about that later. But he's going to get a pop. But it's still strange that Chris Jericho becomes a face simply because his heel partner turns on him. He didn't do anything to win the fans over. He was just calling them names. Now he's not going to call them names because I'm not sure where you stand on that, where others stand on it. But I just don't like it when heels turn face simply because their heel partners turn on them, leaving them alone. It's kind of like bullies in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
If their group turns on them, well, will you guys be friends with me? I have no friends. That's exactly what they're doing with the crowd.
Yeah, and I mean it works the other way. Obviously, when you've got two faces, or you in the Shield, for example, you had Seth Rollins turning on Ambrose and Reigns. The timing there as well was kind of weird, but it still does work to an extent when you've got your faces, and they turn on their brother, or that sort of thing. Not so much when you've got two heels that are supposed to be, they're supposed to be the bad guys.
Yeah,
they're exactly harping on the crowd. I guess the thing about Jericho is he's kind of the cool heel, right?
Yeah,
like
tweener.
Like he wasn't full on heel, whereas Kevin Owens right now, full on heel. Like he went from heel,
to
super heel.
Yeah,
right.
It feels that way.
Which we'll talk
about. It's kind of
interesting.
interesting.
Which we'll talk about. But I do agree that why does that automatically just turn Chris Jericho face right away?
Right.
Like, why is it that he's playing the heel, even though the fans are cheering him, he's still playing the heel.
Yeah.
He
should remain heel.
Yeah. Well, I guess the thing about it is that what's his face there? Steve Austin, he also was playing the heel.
Yeah.
And he got the fans behind him and everything and what have you. And then of course there was the famous double switch, but he was already basically turning in the direction of a face, whereas you didn't really get necessarily that feeling of Chris Jericho turning into a face. I guess the only thing is there was the heartfelt words of admiration during the Festival of Friendship. So you might have been, because you kind of got that feeling like that that Jericho was being sincere.
Yeah.
So there was definitely that was pretty face.
It was face, and it's just the fact that I think we know the WWE enough that they're just going to make him a face. This is what I'm saying.
Oh, it's going to happen. Absolutely. And he's just going to be I know he's not going to be your smiling, baby kissing face, of course.
I'd like to see him stay super would you say anti-hero?
Yeah.
Just stay with the way he's been going.
Like he's the cool heel.
Like I'd still love for him to be a cool heel with maybe a touch of face. Mm-hmm. Still call the crowd stupid idiots.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the crowd would pop for it. It's somewhat Stone Cold-ish. Even The Rock. But let's see what they do. I don't know for sure. Yeah. I'm just making an assumption here.
Yeah.
But
maybe next week what we can do is we can talk more about Fastlane.
Yeah.
And the actual event itself, because it'll be the following Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see.
See what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe do a review on it.
Cool.
Okay, so we are done with our topics of discussion, guys. We are going to jump right into the Monday Night Raw, February 21st, 2017 edition. We're going to do that review recap. And I do believe the show started off with Kevin Owens on the microphone. Owens started off by assuring the WWE Universe that he would basically not make the same mistake that Brock Lesnar did, and that he would outlast and outsmart Bill Goldberg in a much lengthier match than what Goldberg is used to. So there was something about this I didn't like tremendously. Essentially, he did a throw of Goldberg under the bus. He basically announced to everyone that Bill Goldberg is not a guy that can last long in matches. And, James, you and I both know that. He basically blows up after a couple of minutes. That's why all of his matches in the WCW were very short. So he's saying that he's going to outlast him cardio-wise. and it kind of throws Goldberg under the bus as being a weak character. So we may see a sluggish match if Kevin Owens decides to pull a longer match on Fastlane.
I think though, to kind of counter that, that's what he's saying, right? And Kevin Owens, he's gone full heel now,
Yeah.
which I really enjoy. I thought he's doing a great job. This sit down interview on Raw there, or not an interview, but the promo rather on Raw was great, and I think he is doing straight up heel, and basically calling out and Goldberg basically saying that in a lengthier match he's got the advantage. I think we have to remember is it was a long time ago, of course, but Goldberg has actually had some longer matches. He fought an amazing match against DDP at Halloween Havoc back in, I guess, 1998. Obviously, almost 20 years ago, but he fought great. There was one triple threat match. I can't remember who the third was, but it was Goldberg, Scott Steiner. And that was a good 20, 25-minute match as well, and it was a good match. But I guess I think you had a couple of extra good workers. But I think Kevin Owens can take Goldberg to a good match. I don't necessarily think that if it goes a little bit longer, that it's just going to be this sluggish match. I think it has the potential to be pretty good.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. And KO basically finished that off, and then he basically went to address Chris Jericho and simply dropped the microphone and walked out. I love that. That was very heel.
I liked that too. I thought that was a really nice touch. It's like, as for Chris Jericho, just has nothing to say, and that just continues with his full heel. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah. Jumping back to Owens and Goldberg real quick. I follow Kevin Owens on Twitter, and he's been trolling Goldberg pretty good.
Yeah.
With different things here and there, different things that really almost sound like a shoot. A couple hours ago, here's an exchange. Goldberg says, approximately 9 days, 5 hours, and 4 minutes until Kevin Owens loses his Universal Championship. Hashtag WWE Fastlane, hashtag Owens is next. Kevin Owens replies, good luck with that, man. Sorry, I only just saw this now, but I was busy wrestling at a live event in Germany like true WWE superstars do.
Oh, jeez, that does sound like a shoot.
Yeah.
So he's usually shoot tactics, but I like that.
Anyways, but I mean, it does build. It builds the match.
It does.
And there's a lot of people on Twitter these days, right? Like Kevin Owens. I mean, he's got how many? He's got 831,000 followers on Twitter.
That's quite a few.
That's quite a few. So for people to see that, I mean, even if people just casually follow him, you've got a lot of people seeing these things and thinking, maybe I want to see this match. Anyways, I just think it's pretty cool that he's kind of trolling Goldberg as well on social media. It's good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so moving along here, the next segment was Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Cesaro and Sheamus for the number one contenders to the Raw Tag Team Championship. Now, I've got to say, we've been talking a little bit about this the last couple of weeks. Enzo and Cass kind of getting old.
They are.
Their shtick kind of getting old.
Crowd's feeling it too.
Crowd is totally feeling it. Kind of seemed a 50-50 split, even though Cesaro and Sheamus are kind of more so the heels, I think, than Enzo and Cass.
Slightly more. Ever so slight.
Now, I never thought I would say this in a million years, but I'm actually digging Sheamus right now. Yeah,
something about him, it's interesting. He's still the heel of the two, right? Sheamus is the heel and Cesaro is the face. But it's weird. I like his music now. His look has grown on me. He doesn't say much, which is probably a good thing. He is a powerful guy. I don't know. He's kind of and maybe just the respect factor. Like James, how long has he been around now? He started off against Triple H.
Oh, Sheamus has been around now for at least 6 or 7 years. Like him and Daniel Bryan fought for the World Heavyweight Championship at, what would that have been? He beat him in like 18 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was several years ago already.
It's funny. It feels like so long ago. Yeah. So, maybe it's just a respect factor because he's been around for such a long time. But, yeah, I think the match was all right. Again, the crowd seems to be growing more and more tired, specifically with Enzo, because at the end of the match, of course, Enzo and Big Cass were the victors.
They won the match. Yeah.
Yeah. Enzo gets on the mic on the ramp, and he starts repeating this. I don't even remember what he was saying. Annoying thing over and over, bragging that they had won the match. Mm-hmm. It was actually kind of heelish, but he was playing the face. I assure you of that. The WWE was not attempting to make them look like faces. And Sheamus from the side, you can't even see him. He was hidden from the camera. Gives this monster, it looked like a shoot because it connected. They'd even replayed it. Big boot to the side of his head.
It was.
And dropped him down.
It was a beast.
And I said to myself, thank you, Sheamus. The crowd starts chanting, thank you, Sheamus. I could hear it clearly. Everyone's annoyed by him. Corey Graves is annoyed by Enzo. I guess there's some sort of a long-time feud between those two.
Yeah. Oh, there's a couple of gems from Corey Graves. When they first came on the ramp, Enzo was wearing this stupid jacket, right? I can't remember if it was tiger stripes.
It looked floral.
Maybe
it was
floral.
like purples and whites.
Yeah,
and
but Graves says Enzo looks like he found that jacket in Betty White's closet.
It did. It was hilarious, and it does look like a Betty White shirt.
And then during the match as well, he says as if there's an opportunity for Enzo Amore to have gold on Monday Night Raw, I might have to retire again. Yeah. I like Graves on the mic.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
He's a good heel.
He plays the role well.
He does.
Yeah, he plays the role, and the way he should be, kind of like Jerry Lawler used to be way back in the day.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, how Jerry Lawler used to be.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. No, that was good. So that was basically it. It was the match itself, it was so-so.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's very obvious that Cass and Enzo are soon going to have the belts around their waist. You could tell that's the way the WWE's going.
Yeah.
So,
especially since Anderson and Gallows they've been made to look so weak.
Yeah, it's odd
I just can't imagine them holding on to the titles for much longer.
And they look like such a badass group of guys, and
it's
yet
too bad
they misused them entirely.
They're definitely misused. Yes.
So the next match was the continuing drama between the Brian Kendrick and Akira Tozawa. So basically, I guess these two were going to have a match on Raw, and I said to myself, there's no way these two are going to fight because they just started their little story. But Tozawa has been showing the Brian Kendrick disrespect because he wants nothing to do with Brian Kendrick. I guess Brian Kendrick, as we discussed, what was it, the last podcast, he wanted to be his mentor.
That's right.
And Tozawa just wanted nothing to do with him. Mm-hmm. And so Kendrick comes in the middle of the ring and refuses to shake his hand, and just before the bell goes off, just beats the living tar out of Tozawa and then leaves. And he's interviewed later on the mic behind the curtains stating that was lesson 1, respect, other lessons to come. So who knows what that means. But you're in my guess, James, that Kendrick was in fact heel the whole time. Yeah, it was true. He was never a face. It was just a strange storyline. I don't know. I'm not sure where Tozawa's English is at, but if he can't speak English, this could be a tough one.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say. Like I remember back in the day, they had Takamichinoku
Funaki.
was there and Funaki, and they put on some pretty good matches. But you're right. Like if they can't cut a promo
Right.
that can really connect with the North American fans, I just can't see all that much success. Like Tozawa's probably going to be the cruiserweight champion at one point. I would presume.
Well, it's like a certain someone on NXT. He's great on NXT, but if he comes over to Raw, right?
Yeah.
But
It may not translate.
but
Or they might need a translator.
oh, actually, that might work. That's a good idea, James, because Mr. Brock Lesnar has Paul Heyman
Sure.
to translate his lack of talking.
Yeah.
Although Lesnar could talk just fine. In fact, I think he's pretty good now.
Lesnar, yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, I don't know. But, why not?
Yeah.
Somebody could stand beside Shinsuke Nakamura.
Back
Talk
in the
to the
day,
crowd? Why not?
back in the day, Yokozuna had Mr. Fuji.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I never thought of it that way. In fact, that's a really good idea. I could see someone standing beside him. And, over the years, maybe he'll learn English and kick him to the curb. Kick his assistant to the curb.
Yeah.
So, I guess, speaking of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, they were up next in a 2-on-1 match against everyone's favorite wrestler, Mr. Roman Reigns.
In my notes, I specifically wrote, ugh.
There was not much to this thing at all.
No.
I just only noted that neither Roman nor the two guys won by a 3 count because I guess WWE is trying to protect, they're Roman and they're tag team champs.
Mm-hmm. The only cool thing in this match is, I don't know if you saw it, but Anderson was jumping off the top rope and Reigns hit him in midair with this monster spear. It was pretty cool.
He hit him in the chest, though. I got to say that. It's supposed to be a little bit of a lower spear.
It still looked cool.
Yeah.
It was fast and furious.
Oh, God. You know what? Another cool thing that happened in that match, but it happens every time Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson fight. Gallows is the bigger guy, right?
That's right.
The former Festus. He has got a mean sidekick. I guess you can call it a super kick if you want. But he's got martial arts background and whatnot from New Japan, etc. From Japan. He was in dojos and whatnot.
Probably.
Is it called the Magic Kick?
Magic Killer is their finishing move. Yeah.
Oh, that's the finisher. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, he's got a wicked kick. I don't know. I liked it. He's a big man. And they look good. They look stiff.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It's funny. I think he's pretty agile,
He
to
is.
be honest. And they don't really... Yeah, he just doesn't really show that off much.
No, he should more. Because he's big, he kind of wears the same kind of pants that Diesel used to wear.
Mm-hmm.
Could you envision a Diesel doing a side kick? I can't.
I don't know if he could get his leg up.
He was too busy lifting his hip up when in the corner of the turnbuckle. That was about the only thing he did to the guys.
There'd be a pretty good chance that he would, if he tried something like
Quad.
that.
Quad blow.
Quad joke. All right, so after this was the upcoming match between the New Day and Jinder Mahal and Handsome Rusev.
Jinder Mahal, now known as Hard Body, apparently.
Not only... I never realized how tall he is.
Yeah, he is.
He just towers over Rusev.
He does.
Craziness. But, they talked about how New Day was going to be hosting WrestleMania this year, which actually was announced for whatever reason earlier that day on TMZ, of all places.
All these things are getting announced on these other websites now.
Yeah, they talk about it on ESPN, or I think they announced...
Kurt Angle.
Yeah, DDP.
Yeah.
They talked about all that.
But now they're acknowledging it. It's kind of like, oh, you guys leaked it. All right, we'll acknowledge you.
Yeah. So, anyways, TMZ, that's where it was announced that they were going to be hosting WrestleMania this year. I am not at all interested in having New Day hosting WrestleMania. As we've talked about previously, their act is just tired.
It is.
Just tired.
It's going to be an immature gong show of lameness.
Yeah. So apparently, they yacked a little bit. They talked about how they're campaigning to become the hyenas in this new remake of The Lion King, which I don't even know if that's legit or not. I don't think there is.
I was wondering that too. Like, I haven't even heard anything about it, but whatever.
Straight to Blu-ray. Straight to VHS.
Just some Betamax.
Laserdisc.
We're just going to spend the next 5 minutes talking about different formats.
Former formats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sega Saturn.
Game Gear.
Where are we going with this?
I'm not even sure.
This gives our audience a good idea of what we think of the New Day hosting WrestleMania.
Yeah, so I never really even watched the match, to be honest. I mean, once they kind of started talking about Lion King and they talked about their ice cream, I really lost interest, and I pretty much just skipped that part.
Yeah, they accused Lana of hacking their emails to get to their ice cream ingredients, and they basically accused Lana of being able to do this just because she was Russian. Kind of found that to be humorous in a discriminatory fashion, but all in all, it was just another New Day segment.
Yes, I agree.
So, no, not much to it. And we haven't even discussed the fact that they wrestled. I don't even remember who won.
I'm pretty sure the New Day won.
Yeah, you're right. New Day did defeat Rusev and Hard Body Jinder Mahal.
Hard Body Mahal.
Hard Body Mahal. All right. So, next up, Adrian Neville versus Jack Gallagher. It wasn't actually a versus. Sorry, it wasn't a match. It was their contract signing, I believe.
It was for the Cruiserweight Championship match at Fastlane.
Yeah. This by far was the best segment of the night.
I don't agree that it's the best segment, just because I thought Kevin Owens' segment was strong.
Yeah, I actually like this a little bit more than
this
Owens.
was entertaining, though. Don't get me wrong. It
Yeah.
was definitely entertaining. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. These guys were doing a straight up good job. Gallagher was pretty impressive himself. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of his, but you know, Neville started off by calling out Gallagher's gimmick, stating he was basically playing a fake, stereotypical English character that only the Americans wanted to see. But Gallagher, he appeared brave with his comebacks, calling Neville a delusional king, that Gallagher was in fact a gentleman, that the clothes and the umbrella didn't come off at night when he got home, and it was actually really good. They used a lot of the UK, the fact that they both come from the UK.
Yeah, I thought, just to kind of jump back quickly, with like the segment itself, they're in the middle of the ring. He's got tea and biscuits.
Yeah, he did.
On a tray.
He offered it
in
to
the middle of
Neville.
the ring. He, when what happened there was Neville just came out. He goes to signs the contract and starts to walk out, right?
Yeah.
Well, Gallagher...
Leaving so soon?
Leaving so soon, old boy. Why don't you come back, share a cuppa?
Yeah.
Which is totally an English thing. And I don't know if you remember, but then a tea and biscuits chant actually started.
I did not hear that.
Oh, tea and biscuits.
Oh, God.
I thought it was pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, there was some good drama. Neville flipped the table on its side, and Gallagher did a pretty cool wrestling takedown of Neville, something I hadn't seen him do yet. So I don't know, I liked it. It's weird. I do not really like 205 Live, but whenever Neville is involved in something, it kind of brings some legitimacy
I
to
agree.
whatever the feud is, and
Yep.
you know, maybe it's good for Gallagher to be against Neville at this
Oh,
stage.
I think it can do nothing but actually helps increase his ability. It can bring him up to another level. They kind of sold the announcers as well as Neville, of course, really sold that headbutt that Gallagher made on Neville, which I think is just great. It really sells, how devastating that can be.
Yeah, he's entertaining. I gotta say,
Yeah.
he's entertaining. He's got some comedy relief, but he's got some good wrestling to
Yeah,
him too.
I think he's got some good wrestling chops. The umbrella, great stuff. I liked it. That was a great segment.
Yeah, for sure. And the next match was very short. Nia Jax defeated I guess it was a local competitor. Her name was Sarah Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
I marked the match length at 1:51. I think it was actually a lot shorter than that. But Jax basically destroyed her. She appears to be getting a solid push, and I could see her with the gold around her waist soon enough. That's all I can really say about Nia Jax right now.
I just the way that the whole Charlotte Bayley thing has kind of been going, I don't think it'll be before. It certainly won't be before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But it'll be it's inevitable. It's gonna happen. And then you've got your monster heel. And then who can beat her?
Yeah, and I think it helps too that she's a monster heel, but she's pretty. She's got a pretty face.
It helps.
So
yeah.
it helps. I know she's got kind of the whole package. Vince likes the big monsters, right? And it's kind of cool to have one in the female division.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Yeah. What was next? Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair.
Yeah. Now this whole thing kind of gets starts off because Bayley, she was kind of kicked off the segment, just really basically saying, she finally did it. She finally achieved her dream. Unfortunately, it was terrible. Just her acting, it's not flying with me.
This by far was the worst segment of the night, and it had just taken place not long after the Neville one, which, in my opinion, was the best one. She seemed completely unprepared. Bayley seemed immature. She was basically going by the whim. It's like she completely had nothing ready to go. She starts talking about, was it Los Angeles that she was talking about? L.A.?
It was LA.
She was just reaching for topics to try and discuss with the crowd. And you could tell the crowd was kind of like waiting for her to say something.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing came out of her mouth as she was just blabbering about things. Wasn't impressed. I find every time she gets on the mic, she doesn't know what to say. Compared to any of the other females in the Divas division, I don't know. I'm done with her. I never started with her. I'm not a Bayley fan.
Yeah, no, I'm not really a Bayley fan either. I know she was super popular in NXT. I didn't really see a lot of her stuff in NXT. Although I know she was super popular. She had that really good match against Sasha Banks back in, I guess, 2015. And NXT, one of the takeovers for the title, and I think that's when she beat Sasha. But aside from that, even in the lead up to when she was fighting against Asuka last year, leading up to Takeover Dallas, I'm not super impressed with her mic skills. I think she's decent in the ring, but she's kind of decent.
Yeah, I don't find her that amazing in the ring either, to be honest with you. I'm not sure where all the hype is besides the kids loving her and whatnot.
And I think really they totally hot-shotted her title win, on basically a random episode of Monday Night Raw, and she didn't even win it clean.
Right.
It's still. It left it so open to what happened next with Stephanie McMahon coming down, basically attempting to convince her to give up her belt because she won it due to outside assistance from Sasha. And that's legitimately, it's legitimate.
Yeah, and I'd mentioned to you earlier that the argument was that someone else was going to interfere on the part of Bailey's opponent, but that never actually happened, right? Whereas Bailey did receive assistance and she got the belt from it.
Yeah, there's a difference between, like the heel's going to interfere.
Yeah.
Right? It makes sense. And it would be one thing if, let's say, Dana Brooke got up on the apron, or I'm sorry, Sasha Banks got up on the apron and, say, distracted Charlotte enough so that Bailey could get the win. But what happened was that Sasha Banks physically got involved in the match when it seemed essentially that Charlotte had the match won.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks got involved, which allowed Bailey to end up winning and beating her for the title.
See, the problem here is Bailey is not an anti-hero. She's a pure bubblegum babyface.
She is, yeah.
And you can't have that kind of stuff, right? Like you're discussing. Like you can't have someone assist you.
Agreed.
If it was an anti-hero, that might fly, right? In my opinion, it would. Because there's tons of cheating from anti-heroes, right? Like Eddie Guerrero. I lie, I cheat, I steal.
Mm-hmm.
He was a face. People loved it.
Yeah.
Right? Do you not agree? That happened all the time.
I do. But even when he was a face, though, he didn't, like, for example, he cheated against Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania 20.
Yeah.
Cheated against Kurt Angle, undid his boot.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, right? But that worked because it was still him outsmarting Kurt Angle. Even though he cheated, per se, it was still him outsmarting.
It was still himself.
It was himself outsmarting the heel.
Yeah, I see where you're coming with that. When it's people.
So that's why that worked.
Yeah. No, but it's a good point.
Yeah. So, anyways, Charlotte came down, of course, and they yacked a bit. Sasha Banks came down. They yacked. Eventually, it goes on to a Sasha Banks versus Charlotte match, which really just completely felt out of place.
Oh yeah, it was just it felt like it was completely thrown together. It felt like it was a save to just kind of give Bailey some time away from the mic, and for some reason Bailey got to watch the match, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense in my opinion. I don't know. It didn't really interest me that much whatsoever. I wasn't invested in it.
No, I agree. And our good friend Dana Brooke came down.
Yeah, the individual whose name we always remember.
we can't forget it now.
We cannot. So Dana Brooke ran down the aisle. She was going to interfere in the match. Bailey managed to stop her on the ramp, and Sasha Banks laid in the her version, I guess, of the backstab or bank statement. And she laid that on Charlotte and got the submission for the win.
And that ending there would have made more sense for Bailey. Like if Bailey had won it that way, had won the title, it wouldn't be as, we'll call it, tainted of a win.
A strong
right?
ending.
It would have still shown her to be a strong contender.
Yeah. But
unfortunately, it that didn't happen, and she just looks like a weak champion.
Yeah.
And for her to talk about this being her childhood dream, and her sitting with her dad watching wrestling, and now she's the champ. What do you mean?
Right.
You're the bubblegum face.
Yeah.
You couldn't even beat the champion on your own. Like, how is that an accomplishment?
Oh, agreed.
Anyways.
Agreed.
Anywho, that's
that. So we then move over to a bit of a strange short segment. Mick Foley standing up to Stephanie McMahon. Did you manage to catch this segment, James?
I did catch a little bit of it. I know that he talked about himself being a big Bailey fan, because he is, and he actually talks about himself being a big Bailey fan even on Facebook. in his his real life accounts. He talks about being a big fan of hers.
He was also mentioning Samoa Joe, I believe.
Yeah, I think I must have maybe.
He was basically stating, I was always a Samoa Joe fan, and I told you guys about Samoa Joe 10 years ago, and you finally get him on our roster now. And I guess he was basically telling them that they don't appreciate or don't listen to him, and I guess he kind of was starting to stand up for himself, but it was kind of like in a fashion that, is this going to lead to an authority firing of Foley? So I don't know. Maybe this is nearing the end of Mick Foley. We've mentioned that maybe he's up for retirement soon. Maybe this is kind of the angle they're going with, where Mick basically just says screw it all, and he just rides off into the sunset.
Could be. The whole thing, though, even with Foley, like if that is where they're going with this, why bring him in the first place? Like, we were just talking a little while ago about the fact that the draft or like the brand split, it only happened in July. We're only in February. Like, so for him to be in this role for less than a year, potentially, only to retire, he already was retired.
Yeah, it's like he was a filler position because
Strange.
Daniel Bryan, where he is right now, makes sense. Shane, I guess, makes sense. Stephanie makes sense, as much as we're done with Stephanie. But the Foley add-in always confused me.
It's not a good fit. We
No.
talked about that before too.
No, it's not. We should find someone that's maybe a little younger and hipper with the crowd. And geez, I'm not sure. Like, even they could have used somebody with personality like Corey Graves, even, who doesn't even have much history, but he has major personality, and he could have done something. But who knows? I'm just saying somebody younger. Fully, I don't know, stands out as being done with the company to a degree. So.
Next up here, we've got WWE Universal Champion Kevin Owens facing his longest-running rival, I believe, in the WWE and NXT, possibly wrestling each other for the 12,000th time, Sami Zayn.
Yeah, basically, I guess it started off with an interview in the back with Sami. He was reminding everyone that he had warned Jericho in the past about Owens turning his back on him. And then for some reason, he managed to incorporate Samoa Joe into this, comparing Kevin Owens to Samoa Joe, essentially stating that both men were selfish individuals with terrible intentions.
Cuts like a knife.
So, I guess as Zayn is walking out to face KO, Joe attacked him on the ramp and just beat the tar out of him, leaving him weak and battered, from the assault. So that makes for an amazing match right there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So you've got Samoa Joe basically dismantling Zayn. And as per Zayn's wish, the match is gonna proceed, even though he's basically a blob.
Because Zayn just has to prove it to everyone.
Yeah,
he's like the gatekeeper that always loses. Poor Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn is like the new Barry Horowitz. He just needs to get a vest with a hand on his back. So basically, KO destroyed Zayn. I mean, because he was already dead. He was basically a corpse in the ring.
Yeah, it was the match. Essentially, was Owens just dismantling him. What did he do? He was able, he finished the match, laying out the cannonball and the pop-up power bomb to him, and the match was over. I'm really not sure what the purpose of the whole thing was, except for giving Samoa Joe a little bit more heat on Sami Zayn. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess what they are going to probably be doing is a Samoa Joe Sami Zayn match potentially. Hey, at WrestleMania.
It's looking that way. I guess Joe didn't really have anyone to to fight him.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess they were leading up to like really, he's Triple H's destroyer.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
right?
it was going to be Rollins, but Rollins is out, so
Yeah.
they had to find someone for him, right?
Right.
So, I guess you could pick anyone. I think I remember watching the Raw when he first mentioned something about Zayn, or Zayn mentioned it was kind of a weak start to it all. But then you could just build on it and then just hope that the crowd forgets how it all started. But I don't know, and again, and I had mentioned this before, but it's looking more and more like Chris Jericho is likely going to interfere in that Fastlane match with Bill Goldberg and Kevin Owens. And it's probably going to cost, and this is just my opinion, but it's going to cost KO the belt, and it's going to lead up to a Mania match between Jericho and KO. The ironic part about all of this is, and this is the kind of cool part, Jericho and Goldberg have huge shoot history with one another, right? There's a lot of heat in the past between these two, real life heat, and the fact that they're I guess they're okay now. I bet you they're not best of friends, but the fact that Jericho may assist Goldberg in possibly winning the Universal Championship in 2017, that I would never have predicted. Well, if this happens.
Yeah, and I mean what I could see happening, because that does seem like the way it's probably going to go.
Right.
Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal title at WrestleMania. And then, yeah, exactly, Chris Jericho versus KO at WrestleMania. Now, obviously those two matches are pretty much set in stone. But what if Chris Jericho comes down, still helps Kevin Owens retain the belt, only to fight him at WrestleMania for the title?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting thought, because it's something that the fans likely wouldn't expect. I dig it. That would be an interesting one, because now he wants to fight his former best friend that betrayed him for the belt, and they don't need to strap that belt around Goldberg, which may be a little unusual at this day and age to do so.
Yeah, like what I could almost see them maybe doing is Jericho helping up Kevin Owens, and they're like, "What is he doing?"
Oh,
you know what I mean?
And then he lays it out on him,
and then at the end, he lays out Kevin Owens, or even the next night on Raw, kind of explains, "You know what, Kevin? You broke my heart.
And I'll break you.
And now I'm going to break you at WrestleMania and take your Universal Championship."
Whoa.
Could happen. Okay, so our second to last segment of Raw this past week was an interview with Michael Cole and his guests, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Now, I don't think you saw this segment, hey?
Actually, I did see it. I believe that this was the pan-in on the face.
That was the pan-in on the face, basically. So basically, Lesnar seemed really on edge. Paul Heyman slays me sometimes. He's just basically, "Michael Cole, if you would behoove me." I'm not even sure what that means exactly, but he basically pretty much asked Michael Cole to be excused. And essentially, Brock Lesnar, grabbed the chair, sat backwards, stared into the camera. Paul Heyman stood behind him, just talking trash against Goldberg, talking about how he's gonna, destroy him at WrestleMania, conquer him at WrestleMania. And it wasn't a long segment, but it was good. I think it did what it needed to do. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was a little strange that Lesnar just kind of walked right up to the camera and just stared awkwardly at the camera. It didn't seem like his style.
Yeah.
It didn't really seem like something he would want to do. It seemed kind of gimmicky to an extent, but it was still pretty cool.
I think the whole backstage interview with Michael Cole sitting there and stuff. I mean, it was pretty gimmicky.
I guess the whole thing. Yeah, maybe I'm just, but no, it was cool regardless.
Yeah.
It was nice that Lesnar was willing to do something like that to
Sure.
kind of build the storyline a little bit. Do you find that a lot of the wrestlers are kind of crossing over on storylines right now? Like Goldberg Is Goldberg focused on Lesnar, or is he focused on Kevin Owens? And there's other wrestlers too that seem to have more than one enemy, right? Samoa Joe, is he focused on Seth Rollins, or is he focused on Sami Zayn?
Well, even Kevin Owens, is he focused on Bill Goldberg, or is he focused on Chris Jericho?
Yes. So I've been noticing these as of late, and you don't usually have this happen. And I don't know. I don't know if I like it or if I hate it. I'm really not sure what to think about it.
I'm a little torn too. Like, I mean, it's
got positives and negatives.
It opens up the stories.
It does, and it's actually a little more realistic. Like, why would everything be so closed when you think of it, like wrestling in general, all these years? Why would one person always just have beef with one person? You know? So it's kind of interesting, and I think they're doing this on purpose because there's too many guys now that have more than one kind of opponent going on at once, and doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be in a tag team match anytime soon. So I think I'm more leaning on I kind of like it.
I don't dislike it.
Yeah. At first I thought I didn't like it, but actually no, it's kind of makes it more interesting, right?
I totally think it kind of opens up different directions for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, just like I mentioned about Goldberg and Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, and it definitely opens up like where you're not really sure what's going to happen.
Right.
There could be a couple of different directions that it goes, right?
Good point.
Both would be equally as interesting.
Yeah.
So, anywho.
Yeah.
All right, and then after this was the main event, which was the Haas match. As
sounds like something JBL would say.
Two big hosses fighting against each other.
Yeah, Braun Strowman versus the Big Show.
Yep.
So I guess the ring needed to be fortified.
Well, it was if you remember years ago, you had the Big Show and Brock Lesnar fighting against each other, and they superplexed each other off the ring, and it collapsed.
Yeah, and that's happened a few times over the years. I just saw a recent replay of something, and I think Mark Henry was involved, and he hit the ring.
Probably.
And the ring also went down. So it's being utilized. It's been overused to a degree. But this fortification of the ring, did you see the fake ring crew and what they were doing around the ring? I saw one guy kind of pulling on some of those ring elastics.
This extra bungee cord will do it.
That'll hold them. I also find funny that, for anyone that actually believes in this ring need to be fortified, because there's two guys that are really heavy. Has anyone forgotten the fact that there's something called the Royal Rumble that holds up to 30 men, and there's no mention whatsoever about ring fortification?
It's a good point.
I've been wondering about, and how about battle royals where there are 20 men that start in the ring at once. So now you got guaranteed weight in the ring, and once again, there's no ring fortification.
Maybe they fortified it beforehand.
Maybe. Or maybe their excuse would be, well, there's 20 men, but they're not jumping off turnbuckles onto onto the mat.
It's equal weight distribution.
It's fairly scientific.
It's like if you're laying on one nail versus laying on a bed of nails.
Of course. The one nail will pierce you.
That's right, but if you're on a bed of nails, equal good night's sleep.
Equal good night's sleep. Equal weight distribution. So regardless of the fortification of the ring that we're focusing on, this match was actually very good.
Very good for a big man match. Now, they build Braun Strowman at 385 pounds, which is beastly.
Yeah.
And they build Big Show at 383.
Yeah. I don't know if Braun is 380, like 385 or whatnot.
385? It's hard to say.
Yeah,
he's a big dude.
He is a big dude. You know what? Maybe he is, because you got guys like Cena and Orton that weigh about 250. Well, now look at Braun Strowman, right? So, yeah, maybe you're right. It's just hard to believe. It's such a heavy man.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? It's probably a little bit of an exaggeration. It is professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But in any case, Andre the Giant was 7'5" at one point. Whereas I don't think he ever was 7'5". I think he was
7'5".
That's what he was in the 80s.
Wasn't Kali 7'3"?
I don't remember. I know Giant Gonzalez was like 7'8" or something like that.
Who was taller anyways, Kali or Andre?
I think Andre.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think Andre.
Andre was thicker than Kali, so.
Yeah, definitely. He was a bigger man overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, the match was actually very good. I found that both men were doing actually fairly agile moves, quicker moves than that. I expected a slower, sludgier match, and I think a lot of people did. But maybe these two guys, knowing they're on the main event, and that they're in both excellent shape, both of them, Big Show, excellent shape. But Strowman, I just looked yesterday at before and after photos of when Strowman first came into the WWE with the Wyatt family, and now, oh my God, he's ripped now.
Well, there's one picture there of I guess last year. You had Big Show and Braun Strowman.
Oh, okay.
Face to face, right?
Okay.
And they both had these bellies.
Yeah.
Big Show was probably pushing 500 pounds at the time. Just a big dude, right? Now that would have been a pretty slow match, but yeah, they both just had an extra kick in their step.
They did.
So I think you're right. I think it partially because they're both in really good shape right now. I think the Big Show's probably in the best shape he's been in since his early career in WCW.
Seems that way. I'm depressed still because he's gone up and down in weight so much that I really hope he doesn't go back up. It's tough, right? Weight, a lot of people can fluctuate, and I hopefully he doesn't, because it's not good to do that.
No, it's not. Hopefully you're right. I don't really think he's gonna be wrestling for that much longer, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
That's just my feeling. But yeah, so hopefully he stays in good shape the way he is. One thing I thought was amazing, and I can't remember the last time you would have heard this in a Big Show match. Not one, but two "This is awesome" chants throughout the match.
Never would I thought it. Big Show was getting "please retire" chants a year or two ago.
Yeah, he's not he hasn't been popular. Whether he's been a face, whether he's been a heel. And I think that just has to do with the fact that he's been flip-flopped so many times. Like, I can't really even think of another wrestler in the past, let's say, 10 years.
It was counted by someone, or even it was counted and Big Show announced it. It was over 30.
It's ridiculous. Like, you don't know what he is. From week to week, sometimes it changed.
It was. And he admitted, he says, I do this so that I can put over the guys.
Yeah.
Whether it be a heel or a face.
And I guess that's noble.
It is. He seems like a really nice guy, outside the ring or whatnot. And he seems like he's very unselfish. So it's hard to hate someone like that. It seems actually that podcast I was just discussing, like we were just talking about here, it kind of clarified some things with some of the fans. And maybe they kind of they changed their view. I think that was the Austin podcast, the one that was actually, you can watch it on the WWE network, and he talked a lot about that. I don't know, I kind of changed my view a little bit on him. Yeah, he seems like a good guy. He just, he's been around for a long time, but he's kind of changed his image a little bit, and it's kind of freshened things up. So it guaranteed that Strowman's going to win that match. And they already wrestled. I got confused there for a moment. Big Show is not going off against anyone come WrestleMania except for maybe Shaquille O'Neal, right?
Possibly, if that happens. And as we talked about earlier, it's not looking extremely probable that they're going to be facing each other at WrestleMania.
Well, hopefully Show gets some sort of a good opponent for Mania, because if he's in this kind of shape, well, kind of deserves one.
I agree. Instead of just chucking him in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Throw him against Undertaker.
One last match for the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Against the Big Show. Now, one of the coolest things in this match was Braun Strowman, whether he's 385 pounds or not. When was the last time you saw a big man like that do a kip-up?
I don't believe I've ever seen one. The only thing, it was amazing. I saw it coming for some reason, but he was holding on to Big Show, right, when he did the kip up.
It was kind of like
it helps.
It helps, but you know what it reminded me of? Owen Hart.
Right, I was gonna say the Rockers, but yeah, it was Owen, right?
It was Owen, yeah, and other wrestlers have done this as well. But I remember Owen Hart being one of the first guys that I actually ever saw do, when they're kind of like holding hands, like how they would do like the mercy fight, like the test of strength.
Yeah.
And the one guy, he'd fall and then he'd do the kip up and then he'd do a flip on his head. And I think that's been done several times, but Owen Hart was the first person I remember actually seeing that. And that would have been like the early 90s, probably when he was teaming with one Coco Beware as High Energy.
Yeah.
Wearing the parachute pants.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
It was before my time, but I do remember the footage of them together.
Yeah.
They had some colorful garments on.
Yeah. Strowman hits. He had a few really big moves in this match. One big clothesline he hit, which knocked down Big Show. Had Corey Graves yelling, "Nearly decapitating Big Show."
Yeah, you know what? The announcers were really helping out in this match when he did the kip up.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear those announcers?
Yeah.
They're like, did you just see that? What was that?
Yeah.
Like, they did a really good job, and they really sold the
And that's what
the assault.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
And that totally adds to the whole match. The commentary and the comments and just kind of hearing these guys kind of in awe of these two behemoths, essentially, right?
Yeah.
It just totally adds to it. I think it's great to hear.
Yeah, there was some good stuff. Big Show managed to get a suplex, as big boot, a choke slam, and a KO punch to Strowman as he was jumping in the air downwards. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't. I guess it wasn't Show's night after all, because Strowman managed to pull that one off.
Yeah. Not once but twice picked up Big Show and hit him with the running power slam.
Yeah.
Like that's a strong man.
Yeah, it was a good match overall. I actually I dug the nicknames they were throwing around for Strowman. They called him the monster among men and the gift of destruction. Those were pretty cool. I also liked when Strowman was in the middle of the ring and went face to face with Show, and he said, "I'm the new giant." I believe that's what he had said.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was a good vibe, but match ends and everyone's favorite wrestler, as we like to call him on the RGW podcast.
Yeah, exactly. The APA's music starts.
Here we go. So Seth Rollins. I mean, no, his lookalike. Oh yeah, Roman Reigns. Rob Reigns.
Trio from Metallica.
The lead singer from Pop Evil. The Usos.
Oh my!
Wow. Could you imagine all these men were put in one room? It would just be who's who?
Who are these people?
You got
clones.
You got AC/DC's Who Made Who playing in the background. Where are we going with this?
Random.
I know.
Anyways, all that said,
all right.
Who ran down?
Okay, RGW, everyone's favorite wrestler, Roman Reigns, runs into the ring. Starts assaulting Braun Strowman, lays in a couple of his amazing Superman punches.
May I throw in the fact that I wrote in my notes another ugh.
Yeah, locked and loaded his wrist.
Gosh.
And as Reigns is running in to deliver one more spear to Strowman, Strowman did this amazingly agile drop kick to Reigns. Looked like a cruiserweight for half a moment there. I was digging that. And he followed up with a power slam.
Vicious running power slam.
To Roman Reigns.
Yep, it was great.
And I think there was some thank you
Strowman. There may have been. I don't actually recall.
Yeah.
But, it was that it was a good end to the segment. I mean, they got to build the Fastlane match. I mean, they're fighting at Fastlane. I think it's funny. I noted as well that I'm pretty sure that Strowman has proven he has a larger move set than Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Like he
does.
He showed off a lot of different moves in this match with the Big Show. It really.
Everyone's going to be cheering for Braun Strowman on Fastlane.
You know what?
I can't wait to see that.
They will.
I will be.
I will be too.
Oh yeah, I want to see Strowman destroy him.
Strowman has quickly become one of our favorites.
Yeah, it's weird
here on the RGW podcast.
It's getting really weird because I didn't think I'd ever say this. My our guest next week may rub that in a little bit because he's the one that said way back when, as I've discussed to you guys before, that a Braun Strowman Brock Lesnar encounter would be interesting. And I'm starting to think that would be very interesting now. Jeez.
Yeah. No.
Hate seeing that.
No,
hate
I
saying
agree.
that.
Yeah.
It's bitter. It was such a. Oh.
But he's definitely one of our favorites on Raw, and that's basically it for pretty much it for the Raw recap. Anything else you want to mention about Raw there, Eric?
No. It was what it was. There were some good moments. You know, the Neville moment, the Strowman moment with Big Show. The KO moments, those were some good moments, and there were some down moments. Bailey,
unfortunately,
New Day,
Bailey
and New Day, more children-oriented individuals.
Yeah. So those were probably a couple of the spots that weren't great. But Roman Reigns in the club, was kind of weak.
But I don't know. What would you give? What would you give out of 10? We should let the fans feel our ratings on our reviews.
Should we get some ratings?
Yeah. What would you out of 10? How many stars?
Should we do stars? A lot of people do stars.
Yeah. What should we do? How many RKOs would you give?
Can we not do that?
Tell you what. For this week, we'll do stars.
Let's do stars, and then next week we will think of a new rating system.
We'll think of a new rating system.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like it.
And let our fans experience that. So, for this week, out of 10, Eric's going to give I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10.
6.5, eh? Yeah. I'm going to give it a 7.
All right.
I'm going to give it a 7 just because that main event was super strong. Had a couple of really good interview segments with you had Kevin Owens at the beginning, and then you had the King of the Cruiserweights and Jack Gallagher segment there. That was good. And then, of course, that really good main event. One of the better main events, and certainly much better than I think anyone was really expecting. So, kudos, 7 out of 10.
That's
I like
respectable. It. Excellent. Awesome. All right, we're going to move on to the SmackDown Rush.
SmackDown Rush. Now, the reason we're calling it the Rush is because I'm just going to give a little bit of a quick rundown of what happened on SmackDown. We don't want to go into too much detail. If Eric, you can definitely jump in, ask some questions, or make some comments, and we're just gonna rush through this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Oh yeah, I like this. We should almost have a timer going, James.
A timer? Oh goodness, we should get. Does anyone have a stopwatch?
What? Do we have those built into our smartphones? I've never heard of those before.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll have to invest in one of those.
We will.
All right.
RGW stopwatch. So
SmackDown. SmackDown was on Tuesday this week, of course. Started off with a recap of the Wyatts, basically a whole bunch of Wyatt stuff from the past year. Harper beats down Wyatt before the triple threat match. Wyatt beats Cena and Styles, and Orton vows not to face him at Mania. So anyways, that was last week on SmackDown. And I think the biggest story there, of course, was that Orton vows that his master, essentially, that he's not going to face him at WrestleMania for the title, which is it's interesting. It brings an interesting layer to the story.
It is.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yep, good stuff. All right, so basically because Orton stepped aside and says, nope, I'm not going to fight Bray Wyatt, they decide, Daniel Bryan, I guess, decides that there's going to be a 10-man battle royal to decide who will face Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. Now, I'm going to list them off here. Now, most of the names make sense. Some of them don't. Okay. So anyways, we've got one of our current favorites, definitely on SmackDown, Baron Corbin, much like Braun Strowman on Raw, has quickly become one of our favorites.
Yep.
We got John Cena. We got AJ Styles. We've got The Miz. We've got Dean Ambrose.
Okay, so some chamber opponents, I see.
Yep. We've got Luke Harper.
Okay.
And that makes sense with all the Wyatt stuff going on.
It's making sense so far.
Yeah. We've got Dolph Ziggler.
No, that makes no sense at all. Who is this Dolph Ziggler?
Got Dolph Ziggler. And then we've got Kalisto.
Oh, my.
We've got Apollo Crews.
Oh.
And we've got, rounding out the 10,
Oh, of course. I know what's coming here.
Mojo Rawley.
Oh, Mojo Rawley. Oh, I thought you were going to say that that small little guy that I always forget his name.
Hornswoggle is no longer with the company.
Not Hornswoggle. The one that Braun Strowman always destroys.
Oh, James Ellsworth.
You'll notice, guys, that I never remember James Ellsworth's name. It's because I don't really see him as a wrestler.
Right.
He's more of a punching bag.
Essentially. So basically, most of those guys all make sense. The last three, not so much. But I guess 10 is a nice round number, so that's what they want, right? What I think they should be doing is if they're going to have Ambrose in these main events, and I see where they're going for WrestleMania, as we'll talk about in a moment, but Ambrose shouldn't have the IC title. It should be maybe on one of these other guys, and they can fight over the Intercontinental Championship.
Sure.
Instead of being involved in a world title match with the Intercontinental Champion in these world title matches, like the Elimination Chamber, like this 10-man battle royal. Just, I don't know. It's very strange. So anyways, that was the recap from the previous week. SmackDown actually starts with Daniel Bryan coming down and basically coming out and congratulating Naomi for winning the SmackDown Women's Championship at Elimination Chamber. Bryan says that she's worked so hard. She's been overlooked for years, and now she's the champion. He's so proud of her, says Daniel Bryan. And that's why this is the hardest thing that he's going to have to do as a general manager. And it's strip her of the belt because she injured herself at Elimination Chamber. And she can't defend the belt within the required 30 days. Because that's the law. You got to defend it within 30 days, right? Doesn't that go for everyone?
Yeah, sure, especially in the UFC, right? 30 days. No, I think that's ridiculous.
But. Really,
Is she really injured too?
Apparently, she is actually injured.
Okay.
She actually, from what I was reading from Dave Meltzer, is that online is that she was doing a split-legged moonsault there at Elimination Chamber against Alexa Bliss and hurt her leg somehow. I don't think she's going to be out as long as originally thought. She could be back in time for WrestleMania, but she may not be. But even so, she's probably not going to be out for more than maybe a couple of months. She just came. What was kind of weird though is she just actually came back from injury, and she was thrown right into this title feud, like right away. You'd think maybe they give her a little bit of time to kind of maybe have more matches under her belt.
Right.
Maybe see how durable she is, because I think she's been injured a few times over the last few years. So
Not good.
But anyhow, basically Daniel Bryan said, yeah, he's going to have to strip her the belt because she can't defend it within the 30 days. And the crowd boos, and the crowd says, no, 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 no. Naomi's emotional. She doesn't want to give it up, but she does. But she says, she's going to get her belt back. At which point, Alexa Bliss comes out.
Oh, of course.
And says she wants her title back. I'm telling, she's a good heel.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, I like her a lot. She basically said to Daniel Bryan, hey, why don't we help each other out? Naomi had to give up the belt. SmackDown needs a champion going into WrestleMania. She says she's got a heart of gold, so she wants to help Daniel Bryan out. The crowd, though, wasn't really having any of it. They were giving her a lot of the what chants.
Oh, okay.
But she screamed at them.
What'd she say?
She just basically told them to shut up. It worked out, though. It was okay.
Yeah.
She kind of let them have it, but she essentially says what they should be doing is returning the title to the rightful owner, Alexa Bliss. Daniel Bryan thinks about it and says, I don't think so. I think what you're going to do is you're going to actually have a title match right now against Becky Lynch. So they had a fight right away. And it's funny, as soon as Becky Lynch's music came on, the way her music starts, I thought it sounds just like Sami Zayn.
Really?
Their music is quite similar, actually. Yeah. It was a pretty good match. One of the highlights for me was a kind of a cool enziguri by Becky Lynch. It reminded me a lot of Owen Hart. It was kind of cool. Alexa Bliss, even though Becky had control of the match for the most part, actually wins the match after a throat stab while the referee wasn't looking. Kind of just jabbed her in the throat and then rolled her up, held the tights.
Okay.
And yeah, wins the title, two-time champ. It's a cheap win, but she is a heel.
She's a heel.
So it makes sense, right? Unlike somebody on the other show.
This is a Bailey reference.
I wasn't going to say anything, but anyhow, Mickie James comes out to celebrate. They're enjoying the big title win. And then for whatever reason, Mickie goes back to the ring to try to fight Becky Lynch again.
Oh. So continue on with that storyline.
Yeah, and Becky basically disposed of her, tossed her over the rope, and that was pretty much the end of that particular segment.
So why did Daniel Bryan make the conclusion that it would just be Becky Lynch versus why did he choose these two individuals to fight each other?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. The only thing I can think of is that Alexa was the former champion, and one thing. Oh, you know what? I never even said. One thing Alexa Bliss made mention of was the fact that she didn't get her rematch.
Okay.
Which true, she didn't, because.
So why did Becky get?
That's an interesting point. They didn't actually explain that.
I don't like that.
No, because they don't really have. Like, they don't have rankings like they would have in like the UFC or
right.
things where they've got the champ, and then you've got the number 1 contender, number 2 contender, stuff like that. If they made that clear, which would kind of be interesting, if they made that clear, it might seem like a little bit more of an athletic,
sure,
an actual sport. Then that make a little bit more sense. But yeah, I honestly don't know why they decided that Becky was going to be fighting Alexa Bliss, but she did. So Alexa is now your 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion. So and then yeah, I made a note here that probably Mickie and Becky, if I had to guess, they're likely gonna have some sort of a match at WrestleMania, I'm sure. Yeah. So, anyways, going forward, we apparently we're going to hear from all 10 of the guys in the match and in the main event, I should say. And as the evening went on, they all had a little blurb. Some people a little bit longer than others. We started off hearing from Dean Ambrose, who says he needs to start focusing what he's doing is he's going to take back his chance at WrestleMania, because the Elimination Chamber was going to be his first chance, I suppose. Although he does have another belt, so he'd still be at WrestleMania, you'd hope. But anywho, what he'd really like to do, he said, is break Baron Corbin's leg.
Ooh,
kind of interesting.
Is that a threat?
I believe it was.
Ooh.
Very good chance. And then immediately after that, they flipped over to Kalisto, who yacked about having struggles, just really struggling.
Poor me.
Perfect English.
Yeah.
English, yep. And he's going to be very happy when the whole crowd is chanting, Lucha, Lucha, Lucha. Because Lucha Dragons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then immediately after that, Miz came out. Actually had a pretty impressive rundown of his resume and his successes. Former world champion, former intercontinental champion, star of a bunch of movies. Anyways, it was actually just the fact that he ran down all these different things was pretty impressive. And he says he's going to be the next champion.
Okay.
So anyhow, it was a pretty good little segment. And then after he was finished with the segment, there was a makeup person who was doing his makeup on the side there because he's a movie star. But anywho, tonight as well, they announced there's going to be a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Hey, you missed the football guy. What about him? Did he get interviewed?
Football guy?
Yeah, there was the 10 guys. You said.
Oh no, they're still coming. Don't worry.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So I want to hear. I'm actually interested to hear what they all had to say.
Yeah. So, So we'll get to there. Tonight they announced that there is a Falls Count Anywhere match between Nikki Bella and Natalya.
Okay.
That's kind of cool. Renee Young ends up chatting a little bit with Natalya, and Natalya just kind of continued with her statements of Nikki being manufactured and
Right.
is a terrible wrestler and has everybody fooled, that sort of stuff. So,
okay, yeah, I like it.
it works though. It works. After this was American Alpha versus Breezango. For whatever reason.
Fantastic. What an amazing tag team, Breezango.
Didn't last long. American Alpha won with a Steiner Bulldog, which is basically a what do you call it? Like one of them holding up them on their shoulders, kind of like they're going for the Doomsday device, and then the other guy hits him from the top rope with a bulldog.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. I liked it. And after that, the Usos actually ended up coming out and cutting a really edgy promo from kind of within the crowd.
Nice.
Yeah, it was actually really good.
It was good?
It was actually quite good. So
what did they talk about?
Just the fact that they are coming for American Alpha.
Okay.
Just they kind of talked a little. I don't know. Would street be the right word?
Okay.
I don't know. Anyways, it was a good little promo. I like that they're kind of showing some personality.
Yeah,
we've talked about this previously.
We did.
They're showing some edge, which I like a lot. For whatever reason,
Little more edge, less Christian.
Yeah, a lot. I don't even know what to say. Completely lost.
You're just leaving me hanging tonight, James.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna go. One note I made here is I didn't realize he was part of the company, but I'm pretty sure I saw Little Guido backstage.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that guy in a long time.
No, long
the
time.
Full-blooded Italian.
You got it.
Oh wow.
You got it. Big Sal wasn't around though, so he must be a producer.
Guido
or
was
something.
with Vito or.
Oh yeah, Vito. Yeah.
I just heard Lance Storm talk about Vito. There's only one guy Lance Storm has ever had heat with, he says. Lance Storm hates Vito.
I wonder why. Did he
I
say
don't.
it?
Yeah, I don't want to get too much in depth into it, but he just basically said that Vito was basically into himself and not into helping anyone else. He was all about himself, in his matches and backstage.
Huh.
You should have heard it's on. Just listen to Killing the Town, the latest one, and you'll hear him talk for a few minutes about him. It's pretty hilarious. Yeah, Lance got all heated up about him.
Oh, got hot.
Yeah, this is Lance Storm we're talking about here.
Big Vito LaGrasso?
I believe. Well, was he in ECW?
He was.
Okay, it's the same guy.
Yeah, it would. I'm sure. Yeah, that
Yep.
makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, we continue on, and now it's time for Dolph Ziggler to talk a little bit. He basically says the new era is dead, and no one can replace him. I'm guessing that's because Apollo Crews is
What?
part of the new era.
Okay.
Baron Corbin is part of the new era. I guess Mojo Rawley is part of the new era. So
Poor Ziggler.
Yeah.
He's got nothing.
he really has nothing.
He's got nothing.
No, even when he's got nothing, he's got
He's
nothing.
not even a good heel. He's got nothing.
No, he's. I don't even know what to say about Ziggler. I haven't been a Ziggler fan for a long time. I just don't find him that interesting, and I know there are people that do find him interesting, and that's cool.
Yeah, teach your
own. Next was Mojo Rawley.
This is the one I'm looking forward to hearing.
Really, his was one of the shortest
Oh,
little ones.
I don't like Mojo Rawley. I just find him, he's very, very strange.
He reminds me of
Off-hinged.
the alpha male. What was his name in TNA? Marty Brown?
Okay.
Monty Brown.
Okay.
The alpha male. He was also in ECW, the WWE's ECW, as this guy named Marcus Corvan. He did the same move as Rawley does. And he was the same build too. Like he did this thing called the pounce. It was just basically a body check. That's what Rawley does too. Anyways, he says that he's won 2 battle royals recently, which I don't actually remember. But tonight it's for WrestleMania.
That's it.
That was it. That's all they said.
That is a fact. Yeah. It is for WrestleMania.
Thank you, Mojo Rawley. Up next, we've got Luke Harper, who says for years he obeyed Bray Wyatt. But at the flick of a switch, that all changed. And now he's free. And after tonight, there's going to be nowhere left for Bray Wyatt to run.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, it was good. It was intense. I like him.
Yeah.
I like Luke Harper. I liked him a long time.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah. So basically, next we had Renee Young talking to Nikki Bella, who pretty much just said that she's going to take out Natty.
Her neck's okay now?
Seems to be.
All right.
Yeah. Actually, and that match was next. Yeah, it was not too bad of a match. It was a Falls Count Anywhere match. They actually went backstage and they were fighting in the back there, and it's pretty much set in stone what's going to be happening at WrestleMania by seeing what happened in this match. So Nikki and Natalya were fighting in the back, and Natalya, I guess, pushed Nikki, who got knocked into Maurice, who was standing backstage. So what happened was then they got back out to the match, back out to the ring entrance there, and Nikki was just about to win with the STF, and Maurice came down and started beating her with a pipe.
Is this the second time they've run into Maurice?
I don't know if it's the second time.
Okay.
Could be. And Miz actually had to pull her off. Of Nikki. Which, basically allowed Natalya to win the match. Right? So, but now there's the something between Nikki and...
Oh, look, another wrestler with two opponents there.
Yeah, I guess...
Nikki and Natalya and Nikki and Maurice.
Yeah, there you go.
It's happening a lot.
Yeah. And then we continued on with the guys talking to each other. Not talking to each other, but talking about the match coming up. We had Baron Corbin.
This is very old school, right?
It's pretty old school. Like they're all backstage, just them, talking.
Yeah, this is old school.
It's cool. I like it. The only thing missing was doing it in like the middle of a match and having like the picture-in-picture.
I remember that in the
Remember those?
90s. Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
So Corbin basically talked about how he likes to inflict pain and destruction, but he also likes the spotlight. And then, of course, at the end, after the match, it's going to be on him. Next, we've got Apollo Crews. It says... My notes just say, says he's going to win. That's it.
Boring. Made Mojo Rally sound interesting.
you know it's not working when Mojo Rawley is interesting compared
He's
to you.
outshining you.
So anyways, next was Orton and Wyatt were talking backstage again. And Wyatt basically told Orton that he's earned the keys to the kingdom due to his sacrifice. So he's basically saying, "Hey, you're my good brother. You're doing a good thing by sacrificing your title shot at WrestleMania." And then that was pretty much it. We're up to the main event already. One thing I really enjoy about SmackDown is that it's only 2 hours.
Right.
It's not as much as an investment, but sometimes you feel that maybe it's not quite long enough. But at the same time, I feel 3 hours, like 3 hours for Raw it just feels too long.
That is long.
But anyhow, just like that, we're at the main event. Pretty standard battle royal. The Cena's Go Cena sucks chants going on. One of the things I really enjoyed, of course, was the Deep Six.
The Deep Six.
Deep Six by Baron Corbin.
We like to reference that one.
Yeah. So, so they fought for a little while, maybe 10 minutes or so, maybe. First one out to get thrown out was Mojo.
Oh, how unfortunate. But that was WrestleMania coming up.
It's really funny, actually. The guys who I had originally said to myself, man, these guys don't belong, they were the first 3 out. Mojo was out, then Kalisto, and then no, that's not true. Cruz actually took out Ziggler.
Excellent.
And then Ziggler goes ahead and starts beating on Kalisto with a chair.
Why? Outside the ring?
Outside the ring, yeah. And then Cruz got eliminated by Corbin. And Cruz, I guess, to show how bad he is, he chases Ziggler to the back with a chair.
Okay.
Takes a couple swings, but that's about it. So then you got some styles. Cena going back and forth, pretty cool. Miz then gets in there, starts getting hit, goes, he's doing this Daniel Bryan thing all the time, hey?
Still doing it?
Doing the yes chants, and then he starts going for the yes kicks on Cena, who then proceeds to eliminate the Miz.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty obvious where they're going with this.
Pretty obvious where they're going. So, anyhow,
I hate it.
double German suplex again, that same spot that they did the Elimination Chamber. We had Ambrose on Styles. Or maybe Styles on Ambrose, I don't remember. And then Cena grabbed them both from behind and gave them both a German suplex at the same time.
Okay.
Kind of cool, because Cena's Superman.
Yeah.
He's got like an unlimited amount of strength. Pretty cool. And then Corbin with the end of days to John Cena. Loved it. Immediately after that, Ambrose eliminates Baron Corbin.
Tisk, tisk.
And then Ambrose is pissed, of course. Takes Corbin, is just mad. Pulls Ambrose out, gives him the end of days on the floor.
Nice.
And then, for some reason, which I don't quite understand why, I understand why he did it, but Miz runs back into the ring, even though he's been legitimately eliminated, and throws John Cena out of the ring.
Yeah, I think you're actually allowed to do that. It's strange. But.
And apparently it was legitimate. The ref said it was legal, so John Cena's out. What I was thinking back to immediately when I was watching this was the 1997 Royal Rumble, when Steve Austin was eliminated.
Yeah, and he
jumped
snuck
back
in.
But that's the difference, right? He snuck back in.
Yeah.
The refs didn't actually see him get eliminated.
Correct.
Bret Hart knew he was eliminated.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that eliminated him, of course. But he jumped back in so quickly, and I can't remember the exact circumstances of how the refs didn't see it, but he got eliminated and ran back in and finished the match and ended up winning the match, right?
Yeah.
But that made sense. This legitimately had Miz eliminated and then eliminates Cena. I don't know.
I swear I've seen this before, though, in Rumbles.
I mean, it could be. I don't like it. I thought it was kind of weak, but
Yeah,
whatever.
you can't just, no Tom, Dick, and Harry, you can just run in and eliminate anyone.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, so anyways, I'd forgotten that Ambrose was still in the match. So I was originally thinking, hey, Styles and Harper are the last two. So they battle it out for a little bit, but yeah, then Ambrose comes back in because I remembered he wasn't eliminated. Oh, yeah, there he is. Good stuff. So, of course, all three guys, they're all in the apron. They're fighting against each other. Dean, he's trying to, he's holding on to the top rope, and they're like, oh, he's trying to skin the cat.
Oh,
Enough with the skinning of the cat.
they have to have at least one.
Gotta have somebody skinning this cat. Can't possibly have a battle royal.
Better call PETA. Too many cats are
Too
being
many
skinned.
cats being skinned. Man, unbelievable. Can't have a battle royal without somebody skinning that cat. But in any case,
Poor Shawn Michaels. How much skinning of the cat and super kicks are we going to see in the next 5 years?
Shawn Michaels rolling in his grave. Anyways, didn't work. Ambrose got kicked out, so he's. So then what they did is they did this spot where Styles and Harper are on the outside there and just on the apron, and Styles, I guess, is going for or I guess it was Harper rather going for a suplex outside the ring. Mm-hmm. They both fall out. Apparently, both land on the floor at the same time, and they called it a draw. A couple of fans outside were pointing that Harper won. But
yeah,
no.
Apparently their feet did not touch at the exact same time.
No, like the way the camera angle is you couldn't tell with 100% certainty.
Yeah.
But it was pretty obvious.
It was no Brett and Luger.
Definitely no Bret Hart and Lex Luger for sure. No Rock Big Show.
Yeah, they should have timed their legs a little bit better than that.
Yeah, so
pretzeled their legs together.
Yeah, something should have happened there. But in any case, you had the arguing refs, and they were arguing that Styles won and no Harper won. And then Daniel Bryan comes out, and he states it's a draw.
Oh, that is such a copy of Brett Luger. My goodness.
But they'll determine a winner next week. Harper versus AJ Styles next week.
Why didn't they just continue with the match and have them eliminate each other again?
It's only 2 hours.
Oh.
They were out of time.
Oh, my.
What they used to say on Monday Nitro back in the day, Tony Schiavone, they'd be fighting. It'd be in the middle of a match. They wouldn't even finish the match. And Tony Schiavone would be like, we're out of time. We'll see you next week.
That's terrible. Only WCW can do that. The match wasn't even over.
Yeah, so anywho, the crowd was chanting for Luke, though.
Yeah.
They were chanting.
They were.
Luke.
Cool.
So even though Styles is really popular, they're into Luke Harper as well. So
fans want change. Change is always a good thing.
Well, you've seen AJ Styles in there a little bit already.
Yeah.
And Luke Harper has definitely been proving himself since he's come back.
Yeah.
So I think he's deserving of of a top spot, of a top billing in a main event. So I'm good with it for sure. So they're gonna fight next week, and basically SmackDown ends in the back with a backstage segment again with Bray Wyatt standing there. He's got the belt on his shoulder and he's cackling away, laughing. But Orton's kind of standing behind him and leering down a little bit at the world title belt.
Very nice.
To kind of end SmackDown for this week.
Yeah, that kind of leads us to that secret rumor that we didn't discuss at the starting of this podcast, but it's looking more and more like we may see a triple threat match, between possibly Luke, Bray, and Orton.
Yeah, it could very well be, and it would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see how they get there, because if Harper wins next week,
he has to beat Styles, right?
He'd have to beat Styles, of course, and Styles could potentially win as well. Still, could happen. But yeah, it almost seems like it's pretty sure bet that Harper's going to win that match somehow. Then you'll potentially have a triple threat match at WrestleMania, and that, of course, is the rumor that it's going to be the three of them. I don't know. It sounds like it could be interesting.
Yeah, because I think it was Cage Side Seats that said that it may even be Orton turning heel and them pushing Bray as a face. Mm-hmm. We're all expecting Orton to be the face, but they may just pull the rug from beneath us, and we might see a face Bray, which would be interesting.
And if that's the case, it's the opposite of kind of what we were talking about the wrong way to turn heels faces, right?
Right.
Because you've been seeing, as the last year or so has been going on, or maybe 6 months maybe. I'm not the biggest Bray Wyatt fan,
right?
But I can definitely see that he's kind of naturally getting over, even though he's the heel, and he's this master. Mm-hmm. He's kind of gradually getting over as he's getting face pops, right?
Right.
And that's more and more happening. Happening more and more, rather, to use proper grammar. So to have him as the face and Orton as the heel,
yeah,
not bad.
They've even changed Bray's look a little bit more. He's kind of got like he's kind of the new metal look right now going. He kind of looks like a Rob Zombie, Jonathan Davis hybrid right now, as opposed to his older, darker look he had a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. He's kind of got the torn kind of jeans look going. I'm digging that, and that's kind of cool if they do turn him face, that he does have a bit of a different look and doesn't keep that big, dark, brown, heavy coat. The fur around the neck, and it's good to change the look a little bit.
Yeah.
But who knows, right? Even just including Orton in the triple threat is a rumor on its own, because he's technically vacated his position right now, right?
Exactly.
And Luke hasn't beaten Styles yet. There's so much going on right there.
Yeah, there's many layers. Definitely many layers.
There's many layers. We don't know if it's going to be all three. We're going to assume it is. Mm-hmm. We don't know who's going to be heel, who's going to be face, who the crowd's going to love in the end. It's so much could happen.
Yep. And there's still quite a bit of time between now and WrestleMania even, right?
There is.
So there's definitely time to develop this. I guess we'll see the main event I presume it'll be the main event next week between AJ Styles and Luke Harper. And yeah, we'll go from there. One thing I wish Luke Harper would do is change his T-shirt.
Yeah, again, and I agree with you, James. He's a cool guy. Somewhat of a cool look. But I would like to see him clean up a little bit. Change the shirt. Like he doesn't need that, that undershirt look. He's not with the Wyatts anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So he can change the look up a little bit. He can still have the facial hair, but clean it up a little bit. Just change some things up, but still be the monster that he is, right?
Well, I remember last year at WrestleMania, he was in the ladder match for the Intercontinental title, and he didn't really clean up too much. He still had the same kind of pants, I think, but he wore it's like a sleeveless plaid shirt.
You should just tie the goatee up like the Chavo-off system. I think I mentioned to you about that before. It'd be kind of cool. Kind of keeps it clean.
Sure. Oh, why not? Slick his hair back a little bit, maybe. Who knows?
Sure. Yeah, tie it up. whatever. Maybe not shave it bald.
Cornrows, perhaps?
Maybe.
Uriah Faber, anyone?
Oh my God. All right, so that pretty much covers everything up for this week. James, is there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I think we're good for this week.
Perfect. Well, next week, Wednesday, we've got our friend Rick that's going to be joining us on the podcast. He's got a lot of knowledge, just like us, on pro wrestling and MMA. So we're going to have some good talks with him.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
All right. We'll catch you next time.
Ciao for now, everyone.